6. Man Toga, SRS runway, auto thrust is loose. 80 knots, thrust set. 2500. 31. Rotate.
Hello, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It has been a couple of days. I've been itching to get back on Microsoft Flight Sim, fire up the Fenix Block 2, and we were pleasantly surprised this morning when another update dropped on a day off that I was already planning to stream. So hey, we are 2 for 2. We were home for the Fenix V2B2 release, and we were home for the updated B2. So we're going to give it a run today. We're going to put it through its paces. We got a very exciting flight for you all today. Hope you're ready for this one. First thing out of the gate, we're not on V-Spirit or Wangs today because V-Spirit only operates legit stuff. They won't allow you to fly the grayscale 320 because this livery was only on 321s and 319s. So you can't fly this livery, and I really want to fly it because it's one of my favorite liveries that you just don't see anymore because it doesn't exist anymore. And they also pulled the route. I think Spirit stopped going to Ponce, I don't know when, but it's not on their current schedule. So we're just going to have fun today. We're going to fly Microsoft Flight Simulator for the reason that we fly Microsoft Flight Simulator. That is to have fun, and we're going to get at it. So I hope you guys are ready. Spirit is getting free snacks today. Oh yeah, and not only are you getting free snacks on Spiritual Wangs today, you're getting some in-flight entertainment brought to you by none other than Green Dot Aviation. I got an exciting video. I changed it last minute. I was going to do the, I think it was the Iberia 320 incident, but I changed it. I'm going to keep it a surprise. We're going to do another Green Dot Aviation in-flight entertainment breakdown. I won't let you know what it is until we get airborne, but it's going to be fun. We'll go over the changelog as well for the Block 2. We just have a lot of stuff to get to. We got a longer stream, but I have a feeling it's going to fly by. Get some shout outs here. Benny in the house. Good to see you, man. 39 months. Happy Monday to you, sir. Zach Lewine. Atushinoy. Good to see you. Chase B in the house. Throttle Hold. What's up, man? Good to see you. Force Raptor. Gray shirt. Ionis Ionu. Operator Dirt. Scott's in the house. Wrong Side Sim. What up, man? He says, I was going to fly this one with you, but my buddy I've been training in dispatch has an interview with us, so now I'm going to help him prepare for that general DX training. Hey, Wrong Side, you got to do the important stuff, my man. Appreciate you. Hope you are well, dude. And we got to link up this month, man. I think I have some Orlandos coming up. I'll have to double check my sketch, but I'll get back with you, man. Hope you're well, Wrong Side. Hope you have a wonderful day. We got many more in chat. If I missed your name, I apologize. Welcome on board, but we gotta get this show on the road out of the gate. Catering is here. Southwest Spirit Airlines merger. You heard it here first. Looks like we got Southwest Catering. Gotta love it. Fuel truck is in position. Jeremy Harvey, good to see you, man. How's it going? Jeremy, I am doing fine, my friend. How are you? Had some days off. I apologize for not streaming last week. I said we were gonna do the cactus flight, but man, I got after work and after that one stream, I ended up getting real sick. For a day, like I ate something bad, or I don't know if it's a 24-hour bug or what, but man, it just put me on my butt, and I just didn't feel like streaming. So I took a day off, a couple days off, and just hung out, did some fun things. But we're back and we're ready to get at it. 39.8K subs. We are closing in on 40K subs. So if you haven't already, hit that 40K, hit that subscribe button. And we'll have a little tour coming up at 40K. I think it'll be fun. I wasn't planning on doing a 40K tour, but I think we have to revisit someplace special, especially if we get the 777 before we hit 40K, which, I don't know, depending on who you ask, it's either likely or unlikely. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with the triple. I'm hoping it'll be sooner than later, but for some reason, I still feel like it's a good couple months out. Jeremy, yes, I'm feeling much better, man. You got it too? I hope you can recover, man. Drink plenty of fluids, ginger, honey, lemon, tea. That's what cured me. All right. Let's get into this, y'all. Let's go here. Ooh, I am testing out a new chair today. It still has rolling casters. I brought it from house. We stepped it up. So instead of the Walmart chair, we upgraded to an IKEA chair that I had at the home PC. So a little bit softer on the rear end, a little bit nicer. But the problem is the backrest is like way far back. So if I lean way back here, it's not very comfortable. Anyway. I'm pretty sure my new house will be built before the 777 releases. Hey, I don't know, man. It's very likely. All right. Let's get to this. Battery 1, battery 2 on the overhead. We'll make sure we get our failures on as well. Cafe con leche cures all. Hey, the fun house. I've got my large cafe con leche right here next to me. So I just went and picked that up. Had a little Chick-fil-A lunch, a little cafe con leche, and some Microsoft Flight Sim. Man, it doesn't get much better than that, does it? You know what I almost did? I almost threw a shot of coconut in my cafe con leche. Would that be weird? That'd be weird. But I figure we're in South Florida. You gotta have the cafe con leche, man. Is this the newest update? Yes, it is, Force Raptor. This is the latest and greatest update from today. I noticed, I was talking to somebody in the chat or in Discord about like some interesting behavior on flare, and I had an interesting flare. I did one loop in the pattern just to make sure everything worked with the new livery and everything. And then I did one loop in the pattern at Ponce just to make sure we had good airport there, because I never actually went and checked it out before the stream. Or I didn't want it to be the first time I see it on stream. So, and my second landing was good. My first landing was a little interesting. So, we'll see. We'll see if it comes back to bite us. But, oh, another update is I've turned off SDS for the rudder. The reason I did this is because I was talking with two of my real-world Airbus friends that fly the Fenix, and they both concluded that SDS on the rudder made it harder to control the centerline. I don't know why this is. It just, they both collectively said, independently of each other, that it was harder to track the centerline and they were oscillating. And you know what? I was like, you know, I don't have the best centerline control anyway with my rolly chair. Maybe turn SDS off, and I turned SDS off for that loop in the pattern today on the rudder. I keep it on for the side stick, and I was able to track the centerline much better with the rudder. So I don't know if it was a fluke. We shall see. But that's just the latest update there. Here we go. Crew supply, ground control, CVR test. Dougal McTavish. What's up, man? Good to see you. Coconut and coffee, that's like pineapple on pizza. Oh, Dougal, don't get me started, man. Don't get me started, Dougal. Good to see you, dude. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. Hope all is well. All right, we are lining, waiting for you to open forward nav cargo. Wait, you can't do it yourselves? I'll do it for you. Hold on, let's come down here. Let's go to ground cerviche, and Were they struggling? What's going on there? There they go. All right. They got it. Cargo doors are opening up. Gotta love it. Mickey G, excited to hear the new sounds. Me too. I haven't heard the startup. I heard that the startup was changed. So I'm very excited for that. We got, man, we're already boarding. We got to get going here, Jeff. We got to get going. I forget. We have integration now, so we can't just sit here and twiddle our thumbs. We got to be ready to go. Fire 1, Fire 2. Mickey G already tested the APU, so that's good. We'll come up the right-hand side. That all looks good there. Let's come over here. Let's go status recall check. Auto thrust in op, autopilot, that's normal. Let's go ahead and come down here. Let's go to the initialization, init request. Did they change the turnaround EGTs? Atul, I believe they did. I spoke directly to Amir, and he said that the latest update should change it. Now, I didn't get to do a warm EGT on this one, so you'll have to tell me, but I have been tracking for the last 4 or 5 flights, or 4 or 5 days really, which is almost like 10 flights. I don't know how many flights. Maybe it's less. Maybe it's 5 flights. I don't know. I tracked all the temperatures of the EGTs on the V2500s from shutdown to 15, 30, and 60-minute intervals, the idle fuel flows, all that good stuff. I will show you that today when we start up and taxi out. We'll kind of go back and forth and see what the numbers are, see how much they jive with the real-world data that I have been collecting, and yeah, it'll be good. So hopefully, though, that turnaround EGT does cool down a little bit more rapid than previously, because I'll tell you right now, out of 5 or 6 flights that I recorded EGTs at 1 hour, only one of them was still in triple digits. The rest were either between 70 and 90 degrees. So, and that was up to 24 OAT. Now, if it's a hotter OAT, it's going to remain a little bit hotter, but it just depends. All right, cost index, we're going to zip it all the way there at 99. We're going to burn a lot of gas. 99. Let's see, what did we file? Flight levels. I'll tell you what, what's the optimum? We don't have it yet. I got to do the init. I'll tell you what, we're going east is odd, so let's go 370 for now. 370 minus 50, that looks good. Temperature off the ECAM 2.1, we'll throw that in there. Excellent. All right, MCO, let's take a look at, let's take a look at the weather real quick here. So let's go back to Phoenix, my flight, METAR, 040 at 11. We'll blast off northbound just like I did in real life. So we're going to take, what's on the right? I think 18 left. Nope, I'm sorry, that's southbound. 36 or 35. I want 35 left for takeoff. I believe that's the one I want. We're on the Danny 3 out to Volca. Insert. Boom. Danny 3. That looks good. 1,084 miles, chat. We're going to stretch the legs on this 320 today. I mean, that's not really stretching the legs, but as far as sim purposes, it is. Normally, we keep it around 500 miles. Arrival into Ponce. This is great. We're going to talk all about Ponce when we get there, because I've flown in there a couple times. Absolutely love it. We'll do an RNAV via from Maz VOR. That is the requirement. We'll insert that. It is the Wild West flying into Ponce. Now, I haven't done it in a couple months. I have to check my logbook. It's been a while since I've been there. But there was a stretch where I did like 4 or 5 of them in a row.
Hey, V1. I remember on a previous stream you told me you were on a taxiway at KDFW when a tornado came by. What was that like, and were you particularly concerned? I feel like an airliner would be a reasonably safe place during tornadoes.
Part 1 promos, thanks for the $1 banking. I'll check, man. Do a tornado when it came by? Were you? Yeah, always your concern, man. I think that was, you're talking about like several years ago. Yeah, there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do. Small tornado, not a big deal. If anything, it's going to spin the airplane around. Definitely not comforting, though. You don't want to be in an airplane in a tornado, I tell you that. I would much rather be in the terminal, because airplanes are meant to fly. And you start getting winds around there, it's not going to be good. Or it get impacted by something else. So, no, not very comforting at all to be in an airliner during a tornado. A small, like, not even an EF 0, whatever. You know, it's still not very comforting. No, man. Not comforting at all. Someone else gave 5 memberships. Who was that? Matthew Kelly. Thank you for the 5 gifted memberships to the channel. I appreciate you. Very, very kind for that. If you picked up a membership from Matt Kelly, please say thank you. All right, MCO will be our return here. I'm just in the chat, dude. I don't have any time to just sit around and chill. We got to load up and go. That's what this GSX is doing to us here. All right. MCO. If we pop one, we're coming right back around, but we're coming to 3.5 right. And we're going to go secondary perf. We're going to do approach. We'll do 200. Oh, it won't let us. I think it's like, what's 211? Close enough. 0 out the winds. 2-1. We'll make sure our failures are on. Magic Barrel Ref 3021 on the QNH. Done. Secondary, nothing to hard tune. Rad nav, nothing. Prog praise, we'll put MCO. And we got to check our charts for the acceleration altitude. Let's check our fuel. 19.6 is on board. That is required. It is on board and balanced. So we'll get our fuel tank pumps on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Seatbelt sign can come on. Let's put that there on the page, which is 19.6. We'll throw 19.6 in the block fuel. And now we're just kind of chilling now. My screens seem a little bit dim, but I just wanted to see some baggage boarding. Oh, we got some boarding music too. There you go. That's what I want to see. I want to be out here watching these guys work. That's what we pay for GSX, right? Good evening, Payne. Good to see you, man. I think I deleted my question. In real world, does any truck like catering coming to your aircraft have to get approval? No, they just show up and do their thing, man. Sometimes they show up too fast and go right into the airplane. Nothing you can do about it. Wrong side, what's up, man? If you had me in the right seat, you could do chat and I'll do the peasantry work. Exactly, wrong side. I need you to get over here so we can do some multi-crewing, man. And do some multi-crewing. I just sit there, sit back, relax, enjoy the chat while wrong side does some work. I think we did that a long time ago with Phantom 320. When he was flying, we were doing a multi-crew. I was just chilling in the left seat while Phantom was loading the box, doing all this stuff. All right, 102 for 168. Let's go ahead and get the APU fired up. And then we'll go over our departure. We'll go over some departure perf that we got to do. We'll get constraint mode on. We do have mini FCU rocking today. Let me see if it works. It does work. Okay, cool. And fire you up. Let's go outside, take a listen. Don't forget you can send McDo. Yep, I'm going to send it to. I just put the fuel in there. Now, what's interesting is we always put in a prelim. I wonder what would happen in the Fenix if you put in a prelim number and then you imported the real. Is it going to mess with it at all? So real life, we fill out that init fuel and CG default 30.0. And then after we send our takeoff data away and we get it back, it re-uploads the new CG and the actual zero fuel weight. So let's take a deep dive into the hardcore after this starts up here. I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. Something that I don't, like, these are little things, nuances that I never mention on stream. And like, oh, he's a fake pilot. Because he doesn't mention this. But I just don't mention it because it really bears no weight in flight sim. But we'll talk about it here. So real life, once our block fuel's on board, we put that there. On the paperwork, we put in the zero fuel weight and the default 30.0 CG. And that's just a plan number. I keep this page up until we are completely done. The first officer will send the takeoff data away. We'll get it back. And the reason I keep this page up is because I want to make sure that it auto-populates the new actual zero fuel weight and actual zero fuel weight CG. So that's how we do it in real life. I don't know what would happen if I put in the plan zero fuel and zero fuel weight CG here and then just did a regular. I don't know if it would mess with it at all. But yeah, that's what we do in real life. That's why I keep this page over here. First officer's doing his thing, and then it automatically updates all the good stuff. So, but put the block fuel in there. Normally, I don't even put block fuel in right away. Well, I can't put the, it won't give me the estimated time. So normally, when you fill this out, and then you can do a block fuel estimate, and it'll tell you how much fuel you need exactly with 0 minutes reserve, and then I cross-reference that block fuel number with the required takeoff number. As long as it's greater than that, boom, we're good to go. I clear out the plan fuel, then I put in the actual block, which is typically always greater than what is required per the box, because the box will just give you bare bones minimum with 0 extra. Now, if wrong side's doing some dispatching, you know, it might be, I might have like 5 minutes extra, which is not a whole lot of comfort gas, but you got to do what you got to do. I had that issue yesterday where aero data uplink info to FO McDo was wrong, but Craig and Captain thought back to the video you sent me. Thanks to the convo, I know how to resolve the problem. Oh yeah, That's just, yeah, I've seen that too. And then that's also why you're always verifying, right? So when you do perf takeoff speeds on the taxi out, well, he doesn't do taxi takeoff checklist and verify the V speeds. Well, that's because I'm not verifying with anybody. It's just me flying the simulator. In real life, when we're taxiing out, first officer is going to say, he's going to call out the V speeds, just says speeds, and then I'll read out my side. I'll say V1, VR, V2, flex. He'll read off his speeds, make sure they match, and then we continue on. In sim world, it doesn't really matter. But in real life, I've had that too, like Wrong Side was saying, where we've had V speeds not match. Here's a bug in the real airplane that needs an update. I was flying a 319 the other day, get this, and this is what always gets, like, it just makes me laugh sometimes, because as simmers, we always find the smallest little things to nitpick about. Oh, this is not realistic. It didn't work 100% of the time. 99% I had this one bug. Well, guess what bug I had flying a 319 going into South Florida? I upped the VAP by 5 knots. The speed target did not change at all on the PFD, nor did it change on the first officers. We're like, what? I cleared it out, nothing. It just would not take it. Like, it would take the number, it would make the VREF or make the VAP bigger, but it would not change the speed target. And it was right at VLS, literally maybe like 2 knots above VLS, it seemed like. So, and with the winds, I just said, okay, auto thrust off, and I just manual thrust. Second leg, it worked fine. So, real airplanes have bugs too. Sometimes you just got to deal with it. File a bug report to Thales. Exactly. Okay, we are just about done, right? So we're going to go to mass and balance. I'm going to leave this page up. For Navigraph, let's take a look at Orlando ground charts. I'll show you what we're going to taxi out to, and then we're going to go over the takeoff requirements here on the Danny. 3-5 left, super simple. Super simple taxi out. Probably Echo 5, Hotel, or Golf all the way down. We'll take Golf all the way down. 3-5 left. Now, on the Depar tour, the Danny 3 RNAV, I don't know if this has a special at or above 26. Let me check my real world charts here. I don't think the Danny is included in this, which is unfortunate because I wanted to have a much higher acceleration altitude for maximum juice sounds. Here's the thing. We have new sounds, and we have not, we need to do a Toga packs off takeoff. So in order for us to do Toga packs off takeoff, let's see, we got 380 here. We do this all the time on the channel. Your like goal, 300 likes before takeoff, and we will do Toga packs off. If not, we're going to do packs on, be totally lame like everybody else. But we're still going to Toga because we've got new sounds. Let me check the SIDS out of Orlando going northbound. No, the Danny is not included. The Faith, the Fishin, Jimmy, Muslo, Orlando, Osprey, and Red Sox SIDS have steep climb gradients when departing north. In order to comply with the climb gradient, thrust reduction and acceleration must be manually modified to 1900. Does not apply to our Danny 3 departure today, which is unfortunate, so we'll just have to let it rip and do a standard acceleration. But we make sure go home is in there, 250 at 2600. That looks good. And I'll tell you what, let's get rid of the departure. Let's go back to ground charts. Let's put you back up on the main screen here. Let's go to weight and balance. Let's go ahead and send that to the McDo. We'll come over here, init, cruise above max. We're gonna have to change that. That's a normal message. That means our current weight is too heavy for our planned cruise altitude, which in real life we would probably have a step climb. So wrong side sim would probably put a note, or he'd probably put a FS in the flight plan section saying that there's a step climb at this fix. We're going to go all the way up to 37. So if I look at the Prague optimum 34, we're going to be too heavy for 370. So I tell you what, let's do 340 for cruise, and let's make our own step climb. Let's take it out to Freeport. Let's see if we can put a step altitude at 370. So we're going to flight level 370 at what was it, ZFP? That's Freeport, right? Yeah, ZFP. Zulu Fox Papa. Boom. We're going to insert that. That will give us a little bit more accurate fuel numbers as well. So I've imported my own step climb. prog page, perf coming back over here. All right, let's do some calculations. It's been about 3 minutes since the APU's been on, so we'll go ahead and disconnect that. We'll turn you on. We'll go ahead and do this number right here, cool the cabin down. And we need to do our takeoff data. Is that because Danny doesn't go over Orlando exec? JR, that might be why. It might be why. Gustavo says, Thales mark the bug has resolved the comment. Dear user, please update your 319 to version X. Here's no longer supported. All right, 3.5 left, MCO, sync final. How are we doing on the likes? 177. So we're still a ways away from PAX off. So I'm turning PAX on. We'll force Toga, and we'll sync the live. And let's see, it'll probably give me flaps 3. Flaps 3. I want to say I took, when I flew out of here, it's been so long, I want to say we were flaps 3. I'm going to leave it at flaps 3 because it's more juicy. So we're going to do that. We're going to send this to McDo. We're going to do a flaps 3 out of here, 4950, 53, Toga, down 0.3. We've sent that to the McDo. There we go. And then here real life, let's compare V-speeds. Speeds, 49, 50, 53, no flex. 49, 50, 53, no flex shit. Flaps, config 3, config 3. See? We did it. Excellent. Company message. Let's pull that up, and then we need to go. Dale's V1 liveries no longer work as well. Oh, man. Y'all are funny. Load sheet. I'll tell you what. The last few flights I did, I have not thought more about flight sim and, like, thinking about comparing my real-life flight to the simulator as I have in the last week. I mean, I've been comparing everything to the real airplane, from my landing inputs on the side stick to recording all these fuel flows and EGTs and just the sounds. I've been paying specific attention to sounds. I've been keeping my headset off and my ANR headset off so I could hear the sounds more, to be more pronounced. And it's just been a lot of fun, man. The perf calc gives max perf for config 3, 181 on 10,000 feet of runway. There we go, baby. We're going all the way up. All right. We're just about ready to go. Let me make sure we've done all of our stuff. Oh, I want to make sure failures are on, because that always makes it interesting. Even though we're going out over the water, there's a lot of divert airports around our route of flight, so it's nothing that you really get too, you know, cautious about. But it could throw a wrench in the plans if you have a specific failure out over the Bahamas. So let's go config. Yeah, config failures. I want them to high, and I want them all. Store as default. Alright, please don't hose me on this flight, though, because I really want to go to Ponce. V1, would you please check the V1 mode switch on the overhead? I'm not sure how it's meant to work. Dougal, yes, I will check it. I saw that in the changelog that they changed the N1 override, where you should still have N1 readout on the EPR. So we will check that, Dougal. If I forget, which I probably will, remind me once I start the engines up. Alright. In real life, do both pilots enter V-speeds? No, Jeremy. They are automatically uplinked. That's why we verify them. They're automatically uplinked from both for both McDo's. Top altitude, we're going to set 340. That was our initial. Boom, that is set. And let's do a quick checklist situation here. Cockpit prep. Maintenance log and tail number on board and check. Gear pins and covers. Remove. Actually, do we still have gear pins and covers in here? I think we do. I think we have the yep, gear pins and covers are not there, but we got the test EXE in there. Cool. Seatbelts are on. Aiders, navin, fuel 19.6, 19.6. Altimeters 3021. EFB checked. Transponder is checked. Put you in auto. We're on 122.8. Let's go. Let's hit the beacon light. Now, I think if we hit the beacon, everything happens automatically, right? I'm not going to touch anything. I'm not going to touch anything. Should have this stuff on perf data. They should be... Yep, jet bridge is being pulled back.
Captain, we are ready for pushback.
All right. Let's get our What is that looking at? That is not... not where that needed to be. All right, there we go. Everything looks good. How about a Flash Caribbean bundle for your viewers? 10 airports for $25.
Departure checks completed. Bypass pin inserted.
That sounds good, SLH Sim Designs. Hello, all V1 Sim about a Flash Caribbean bundle sale for your viewers. 10 airports for $25. Hey, SLH Sim. Are you... I recognize that name. You make airports in the Caribbean?
Locking gear.
Atul, I think I might have cabin announcements off. If you want to try Ponce for Microsoft, send me a note. Oh, Falcon Wings. I'd love to, man. I know that they were working on one. Before start checklist, windows, doors, and slides are still not armed. Why are they still not armed? Oh, we're doing a lift. Ooh. Hold on. I need to go. Well, it's fine. Nose right, tail left.
Release parking brakes, please.
No, announcements are actually on. Cockpit to ground.
Release parking brakes, please.
Brakes released, clear to
Commencing
push.
All engines clear. Start at will.
My slides wouldn't arm when the beacon on the last version of Phoenix. Is that fixed? Mine didn't have that bug, but they seem to have that bug right now.
Cabin crew, arm doors and cross-check.
Oh, here we go. Uh-oh. GSX, don't be getting crazy. Use code V1 at checkout. Hey! Hey, guys, if you want to check out SLH Sims Flash Caribbean Bundle Sale, 10 airports for $25, use code V1 at checkout. SLH Sim, man, that is very, very kind. Check it out, chat. If you are here and you want some Caribbean airports, let's give it a shot. Raise the volume. Volume's all the way up, man. Volume is turned up to 11. Push crew at MCO having a skill issue at 84. Hope it's better on the other side of the ramp. Probably not, Lauren. Probably not. Willow 95. Thank you for the $10 super chat, man. I think this arrival passes over my home in Guanica, Puerto Rico, which is about 30 minutes west of Ponce. Thanks for doing this flight. Not a lot of streamers know about this airport. Willow 95. We're going to talk about Ponce in depth going down there. The first time I did it, I was like, what? I'll be honest with you. I didn't know. Like, what's Ponce? Or what's PSC? And I had to look it up on Google Maps. I could be honest with you. But then after I did it, I started bidding specifically for the trip because it was awesome. I'd fly into Orlando. I think it was can't remember. Was that? I think it was out of Orlando. But yeah, I did it like 5, 6, 7 times in a month because I just loved it. And then I got tired of the long flying, like, because it actually is kind of a long flight. It wears you out if you do the turn. If you do the turn, it's like 7 hours block a day, depending on where you leave from. Brakes are set. You're clear to disconnect. But Willow 95, that's awesome, man. I probably flew over your house. 11, it's one louder, isn't it? All right. Looks like the gonna drop us there. Wrong side, not fit for the arm when they start pushing. That's bizarre, wrong side, because I swear I didn't have that issue before. Man, I can't wait for a 319. Flying this Block 2, this is why we're just greedy flight simmers. I mean, Phoenix team has just busted their butt putting out this wonderful Block 2, and I'm sitting over here like, man, yeah, but what about this on a 319?
Left is clear, right is clear.
This livery on a 319 is going to be absolute juice. Absolute juice. I love the grayscale. I wish Spirit still had them. I don't know why. I just love that. I feel like it looks kind of like carbon fiber. I don't know. All right. It's that time, chat. We haven't heard the sounds. All right. There she goes. Throws in the pin. I'll flash her. Cool. All right. Let's fire them up. First time ever, we have new start sounds. I haven't heard them before. Someone posted it in the Discord. I did not listen to it. It was very difficult not to. So we're going to start them up from right here. And starting engine 1. Ignition switch to ignition start. Did I turn the APU bleed on? I did. There it goes. Starting 1. Shh.
Ladies and gentlemen, please observe the cabin crew member closest to you as we are about to demonstrate the safety features of our Airbus A320 aircraft. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard our Airbus A320. Please pay attention to illuminated signs and crew instructions, including the following safety procedures. The safety card found in your seat pocket contains important information about exit routes,
Every dang time. She's fired. I'm firing her. Okay, definitely much louder. I like it. You guys like it? Now, I don't know why it seems like everything is quiet on my computer. I don't know why that is. Everything's up. But even like my volume mixer, like things are barely moving.
at all times.
But we're going to go ahead and do a 2-engine taxi out. I'd tell you what, let's start number 2 from outside, shall we? Starting 2. Look at that spinner. Oh my gosh. So this is with frame gen on, and I saw in the changelog that they kind of tweaked it so the spinner looks a little bit better with frame gen on even. Like, we don't really have any artifacting there. That's pretty cool. I'm gonna reset that. So even with frame gen on, it seems like the artifacting isn't that bad. But definitely much louder. I like it. I like the new start sounds. It's not like overwhelmingly loud, but the bass rumble is definitely there. I think it is a definite improvement from the original release. Not that the original release was bad, I just thought it was a little too muffled. This sounded pretty good. I think y'all pretty much agreed in the chat. I didn't see anybody complaining about it, so that's good. Dougal, that's your wife. That's Miss McTavish doing the announcements. She's fired. All right, APU bleed is off. APU master switch is off. Remember, if you want to hear these engines with a packs off Toga maximum juice, we got to hit that 300 like mark. So it's up to the chat. It's up to you. I can do packs on, packs off. We're flaps 3. We got to go 0.3 down on the controls. And let's do flight controls while we're at it. Full up, full down, neutral, full left, full right, neutral, rudder, full left, full right, neutral. Everything looks good. Auto brakes max, takeoff config check. That's going there. That's going there. We're going to turn you TARA. Let's go. Orlando ground, Spirit Wings 357, taxi runway 35 left, Orlando. That should have been an auto. All right, let's roll. We got another Spiritual Wings right behind us. Got to love it. I want to see. I want to see what our idle fuel flows are. I have to check it out. We'll check it out before we take the runway.
Orlando traffic, Spiritual Wings 455, taxi 35 left via Gulf.
Oh. It feels like I'm on a real plane cabin. David Lucas, I agree with you, man. It sounds good. Well, we're going to come down this first one here, then we'll make a right. Brake check, pressure 0. What if people stop giving the stream a like because they want to see a realistic takeoff thrust? Well, then they can go watch the other 322,000 content creators that do flex takeoffs. We don't do that here on this channel. Now, we never flex on this channel unless we're like recreating like a training stream. And then I've always left it up to the chat. It's always been a thing here. We've always left it up to the chat to determine if we go packs off or not. All right, clear left, clear right. All right, idle fuel flows, 1020. Cabin's ready. Yeah, boy. Hello.
The cabin is now secure for takeoff.
Cheerio. All right, they are ready. Let's take a look at this because I want to show you guys something really cool. Idle fuel flow, 980 to 1,000. Oh my goodness. Our temps are 495. I'm going to pull up my, where's my phone? Oh, it's over here. I'll have to show you. That's exactly what I have been recording in the real airplane. So from anywhere, I noticed something interesting too. Like sometimes after start, the engines would sit at like 960 fuel flow. And then as soon as I added a little bit of thrust and we got rolling, they wouldn't go back down below 1,000 or they'd hover right at 1,000. That's spot on with the real airplane. EGTs are spot on, 495. The start times we already know are 100% realistic, almost to, literally to the second. The only other thing that we haven't tested yet is a cool down time now with the latest update on a turnaround. So maybe the next stream we'll have to figure out, we'll have to do a turnaround flight. But they should cool a little bit faster in their turnaround state now. But yeah, the fuel flows are spot on to real life, chat. And look, I'm not touching the thrust levers. I kept track of that too, taxiing around. Most recently going out of Atlanta from like the international terminal to the 9er left. Yeah, 9er left. Didn't touch the thrust levers after you breakaway thrust the whole way down. So very realistic. Now I have added my brake curve, which I'm loving. I think I showed it on the last stream. Maybe I'll pull it up down here, show it the runway. But I also paid particular attention to when I was applying the brakes in the real airplane. And what's really different about the real airplane and maybe your sim setup, especially mine, so I use the crosswinds. But when you apply brake pressure in the real airplane, the first, like I want to say inch is pretty easy and it's pretty responsive. To get more than that, you really have to apply a significant amount of force. So to simulate that in the sim, I put a curve on my brake pedals to kind of simulate. So if I want to like do a brake check here, I really got to put my pedals down for it to kind of exponentially increase the brake pressure, which I feel like is much more realistic. So we just created 163 woodpeckers by doing that, but let's keep on going. But yeah, having that little bit of brake curve, I think really, I don't know, to me, mentally, it makes it seem more realistic. Can you feel the inertia in this like the Tolas? Kimo, yeah, you definitely can. Good afternoon, Captain. Did you share all your controls on your Discord? I do have them right now. I'll tell you right now what I'm running with the latest and greatest Block 2. I'm doing the 20 curve with SDS on, and I have SDS off for the rudders. This is going to be our first flight without the SDS rudder dampening on, because I've been told it makes tracking the center line a little bit easier. And I did one landing with the crosswind, and it did seem to help. All right, 278 likes. I think we can do it. We got 500 here in the chat. Bump those numbers up. We'll do 300. We'll get the packs off. And while I let y'all smash the like button, let me show you what I'm running for my rudder real quick, because I know I'm going to get a bunch of questions. Let's just pull it up real quick. Controls. And I highly recommend this. And for the very least, I highly recommend this for your brakes, especially if you have the MFG crosswinds. That's what I have. And I absolutely love this curve. So there are my brake sensitivity. So you could see You know, I really got to, it's not too aggressive. And then once I start really pressing that pedal down, it kind of shoots up there. And I love it. And there's my rudder. 29, should be 30, 30. There we go. So that's my settings. I highly recommend you check it out. All right, got to rearm the spoilers there. Orlando traffic, Spirit Wings 357, departing runway 35 left on the Danny out to the east. Orlando traffic. All right, we are 304 likes. You guys are awesome. Packs are coming off. Pack 1, Pack 2. We're going to smoke them out. Oh, the nav lights were never on. I wonder if that maybe was the reason why it didn't arm properly at the gate. All our lights are on, right? Yeah, that's in the auto position. Okay, packs are off. Let's go. Now the question is, do we do it from inside or outside, chat? Do we yoga from outside or inside? Ailerons into the wind, man. Good to see you. Looks like the other spiritual wings had to crash the desktop or something. Three, 5 left. Runway heading 005. Checks. I'm gonna have to adjust this. Inside, inside, inside. Okay, we'll spool them up 50 from the outside, and then we'll go yoga from the inside. All right, if you're a member, get those yogas in chat. Let's take a listen to these wonderful V2500s at full takeoff thrust. Spool them up 50. Here we go. Yoga. Oh, you bet. Man, Toga, SRS runway, auto thrust is blue. All right, let's see if we can track the center line here. Pretty good. 80 knots, thrust set. 100 knots, check. Nice crosswind from the right. V1, rotate. Oh, it feels so good. Positive rate. You're up. Fly with. Yowee, my ears. Uh-oh. What's happening with my flight director? It seemed like it was real choppy. Alright, there is thrust reduction. And we're right there at F speed. Flaps 1. Okay, it seems like it's back now. For a second there, it seemed like my flight director was bugging out. A little choppy in the window, changing of window views. And there's S-speed flaps 0 after takeoff checklist. Well, bumpy coming out of Orlando today. Oh, that's me. Yep. Pack 1, start the clock. That's associated. We'll leave that up there until we get pack 2 on. All right, that's close enough. Pack 2's coming on. Definitely feels heavy today. What's our gross weight? Oh, almost overshot that in window view. What is our gross weight? Gross weight at 150. The clock was for the packs. About 15 seconds between turning packs on. That way it's a little bit easier on the ears. All right, here comes our thrust climb. Oh, listen to them spin back up.
As we join you in the cabin shortly.
This reminds me so much of the last time I flew to Ponce. Middle of the day. It might have been the same time of year. You know what? I can look it up on my iPad. I have my iPad next to me. Let me look it up on my logbook. All right, we got one more turn here after La Peu. And from there, straighten it out pretty much eastbound. Bank angle check to the right. Feels so good with SDS on. I do love it. Is the forward stick on the roll for increased steering authority? Is the forward stick... yes, Al W. So before the rudder becomes effective, which is between 80 and 100 knots, or I should say more effective, the primary tool to keeping the nose wheel on that center line is going to be the nose wheel steering. And you have a little bit of nose wheel steering with the rudder pedals, right? So even though I'm moving the rudder pedals in the real airplane, sub 80 knots, what's really going to help keep that nose center line, or keep the aircraft on the center line, is that nose wheel. So by putting a little bit of forward pressure down there, kind of helps keep the weight on the nose wheel, makes it a little bit more effective. And then by 100 knots, you're completely neutral, because at that point, the tail's flying. You really don't need it. There's our forward call. We're at a 10K. We'll keep hand flying it because we're going to be on autopilot all day here. We'll go prog page. Actually, we'll go secondary. We'll copy the active. Nothing to delete out of the rad nav. We'll go TJPS, right? Is that it? Yep. And we'll make sure that Delta Operations is on 2. Excellent. And we're 11 for 340. Love it. Oh, saving that view for later. Vio, do the displays really have the bright blue glare at night we see in the Fenix? The bright blue glare. You mean kind of like that instrument glow? Dougal, yes. If you have them turned up, now in real life, I normally dim them so they're not really glowing. But if you have the brightness way up, you'll see a glow. But for the most part, we keep them, or I keep them dimmed. I think you're talking about like on the McDo, how it kind of like has that blue glowiness to it. Will you ever go transatlantic flying? Nabil? Nah, not really interested in it right now. Maybe 20 years from now, kids are out of the house, maybe. Just not my cup of tea. Never really was, to be honest with you. I originally wanted to fly corporate for my career. That was kind of the plan. Like, I know a lot of guys that have, they just always have had that wide body, long haul itch. Never really was me. I think it'd be fun to do one flight. Like, let me do one. Like, let me just fly Atlanta to Seoul on that 748 Korean Air brings in here. I'll just do it one time. I'm like, all right, cool. I don't need to do it anymore. Oh, the ND and the PFD. Dougal, I haven't really noticed that blue glow. We've only done one night flight, I think. 1 or 2 night flights. I haven't noticed it. I'll keep an eye on it for the next one. I have to keep an eye on Dougal for the next time we fly at night. I haven't really noticed any glowing, or I'll put it this way. I haven't noticed anything in the airplane, in the Fenix, that has been, what's what I'm looking for? obviously unrealistic, maybe? Is that a way to put it? I haven't noticed anything that's glaring that's like, oh, that's not right, as far as visuals go. Yeah, Swarm, maybe. It's only at night, like you said. If you turn them down, it's barely there, Black Dog. Okay. So yeah, maybe you're running your displays too bright, Dougal. Maybe turn them down a little bit. Our last flight I did was a night flight coming back up to Atlanta. And I had everything. We were looking for Starlink satellites. So we turned everything down. We turned like all the integrals off. Turned everything down as dim as they possibly could go. And man, you could really see the stars. Because we were above an overcast layer as well, so any light pollution that there was trapped below the overcast. So you get up on top of that overcast at night and you turn everything all the way down to dim or off. It is incredible what you can pick out. It's kind of neat. Would it be pretty cool to do a long haul polar route up over the pole? Yeah, it might be kind of cool just to see. I don't know, man. I don't know. You up over the pole, like something goes wrong up there. All right, you guys are getting the 18,000 foot treatment. Let's go AP1. That is engaged. Back to full screen cam for you. We're getting ready to go through transition altitude. Flame says, in my opinion, the displays are just too blue. Even right now? Man, I think it looks spot on realistic. I don't know. Maybe it's because we're not at night. I will tell you this. The displays vary. So here's another thing that we all get caught up on. Like, in real life, the displays will vary. I've been in an airplane. Matter of fact, the last one I flew, this was like a black. This was like a bluish, like it is now. And you could obviously tell there was a color difference. It's just, I don't know if it's the type of display. It wasn't a CRT, but it's just the, maybe it's the unit number or the serial number of the actual display unit itself is different or off or older or what have you. But it is common to see different colors on the displays from unit to unit or aircraft to aircraft. So that's definitely a thing. 100%. But like I said, I don't see anything in the airplane right now that is like obviously not realistic. Taking a look at our fuel flows. Oh yeah, baby. 5,200 pounds, 1.3 on the EPR. That should continuously increase as we climb up. 86 on the N1s. We are looking good. What we'll do is we'll kind of run through the changelog at first, and then we will fire up our in-flight entertainment. So make sure you stick around for that, because it's going to be a fun one. Well, I'm going to look up what time I left for Ponce in real life here real quick, because I'm curious. Any builds 320 is on the 25th? Really? Is that hearsay or is that legit, Atul? I'll be very curious to give that airplane a rundown, see what it flies like. All right, pull out. Where's my logbook? Where's my logbook? Wow. So I left at 16:15 Z or local? Yeah, which was 12:15. So literally, we took off at almost the exact time that I took off in real life. One of the last times I flew to Ponce. And that's what I'm like, this whole washed out brightness is so realistic. I mean, in real life right now, chat, this is what we would be doing. This is up. Like I said, this is up. This is down. Do we even need that PFD over there? I'm going to hide that. Maybe save a frame or two. I don't know. I mean, this is what the cockpit would look like in real life. I mean, we are locked away. Put this sucker on the en route maps, something like that. Make sure my charging cable is actually working. It is. If it is, then I would turn it to daytime mode. Or can I not? Oh, it's going to just stay dark the whole time. Oh, there we go. Oh, that's the sun. I thought that was the settings wheel. Yeah. Always make sure the charger works before you turn it into daytime mode, because it just drains your battery. So, I mean, there you go. There's full realism view for you. I'm sitting way back in my seat like so. That's what it looks like in real life. So yeah, I left at 16:15. Another time I did it, we left a little bit earlier. We left at 11:37 Eastern. We left at 12:37 again. We left at 12:40. These are all out of Orlando. 1:15. Yeah, all about midday. So I mean, it's just awesome how realistic it is. I saw United lost the wheel on takeoff. Yeah, lost the wheel, slid off a runway. United's just, once you get in the news cycle, it is rough. But, you know, it's United. They pay their appropriate agencies to, you know, downplay any media. If anything like that were to happen to, say, a Spirit, Frontier, it would be front page news all over the place. Everyone would be like, oh my God, what a terrible airline. But because it's the big three, everything gets suppressed. I don't know if you mind pinning the sale message so no one misses it. SLH Sim, yes. Oh, there you are back. So where can they SLH Sim? While I got you here and I'm paying attention, what is the website they need to go to? Is it just let me see if I can pull it up here for you, because I will pin it. SLH Sim has been kind enough to do a bundle off your main website, SLH Sim Designs, code V1 at checkout. Is that what we're doing? There we go, I got it typed up. Don't tell the 330 driver on his super zoom view. Nabil says, I need to go back to editing some videos. Have a good flight. Hey, Nabil, edit some videos, my man. Appreciate you stopping by. Thanks for hanging out with us. All right, SLH Sim. I'm going to pin this message for you. Get some Caribbean sceneries. Need to when should you turn the packs on once you're airborne? Josh, initially, so positive rate, gear up. And then at acceleration altitude, so 1,000 feet, 1,500 feet, whatever you're doing, at acceleration altitude, get one pack on. If you want to be nice to your passengers, go pack 2 on first, then wait about 10, 15 seconds, and then go pack 1. If you turn them both on at the same time, you could not blow your ears out. It's just you'll feel the pressure change in your ears. So it's for passenger comfort, we stagger them. AJ Fernari's here, man. Must have missed your check on earlier. Mr. AJ, good to see you, man. The Glaze Warrior himself. I miss my Voodoo Donuts, AJ. I need to get back up to MSP. It's about time. My last flight down to Florida, we had some weather, and that means it's time to start flying northbound again. Because I've been flying south in the winter, and with the storm starting to roll through in Jacksonville Center, which is probably one of the most problematic air traffic control centers in the country, it just makes it brutal. We were taking off out of Fort Myers, and I think there was 5 of us, and it took almost an hour to get airborne because they were stacking, 100 miles in trail for basically zero weather. I was like, really? This is what we're doing? Why pack 2 first? Because pack 2 goes directly to the cabin, pack 1 goes directly to the cockpit. Now, you can run the airplane off of either pack. The problem is, if pack 1 is deferred, up front, you're either going to get hot or you're going to get cold, depending on what the cabin is doing. If pack 1 is the operating pack, pack 2 is deferred, the cabin is going to get hot. So what you have to do, that's kind of the worst case. Then you have to run pack 1 as cold as possible, and up front you're freezing, but the folks in the back are sweating because pack 1 is trying to get all the way to the aft section, and it can make it a challenge to cool down the rear of the airplane on pack 1 only. It can do it, but depending on it's nothing like running 2 packs. I mean, that's why 2 packs is standard. So, and you can see that on the system display, kind of show how it's outlined. Did you cook the brakes again, given the long sit at RSW? Marlano, no. No, I did not. Brakes, I've made up for. I definitely made up for my last interesting landing. I bet the LCCs are hot on maintenance and training, knowing that any serious incident could destroy their reputation. Probably, Dale. Can we dispatch without a pack? You sure can, Atul. You sure can. So many things I miss about living in MSP area. Donuts is one. Velociraptor. Yeah. Angel Food Donuts, man. All right. How are we doing up front? We're 29:34. Before we get all the way up there, we have a 30, I think it's like a 22-minute in-flight entertainment vid that we're going to watch. So I'm going to turn the terrain on so we can see precisely where we are. I want to browse through this change log real quick because there were some interesting things. What's hitting my camera? It's my armrest on my new chair. Interesting. Any ideas what caused a 7.8 mechanical issue? A strong movement? Sounds like turbulence, LA kids. I don't know. I just saw a rough news clip about it. I didn't actually see what the whole breakdown was. Let me see this changelog though, because I wanted to go over just a few things. All right, here we go. Let's run through this real quick while we're sitting on the jump seat. Alpha protection recovery, that was the autopilot issue. Improved zombie MSFS process resistance. No idea what that is, but it sounds scary, so I'm glad they fixed it. Fixed CPU usage, fixed issues causing failed hook-ins. I had that. We saw that live. Fixed boarding starting while catering is in progress. Fixed N1 gauge. Oh, Dougal, if you're still here, let's take a look. This might screw with our auto thrust. But because I love you, Dougal, we'll do it. N1 mode on. And there we have N1. So we should. All right, so we got to move thrust levers. Auto thrust off. And we've got our N1 right there. So it is working properly. So EPR is X'd out, but you would control via your N1. All right, auto flight, auto thrust off. That's normal. And anytime you had a failure, you would actually put both engines, depending on what caused the failure. Let's re-engage auto thrust. There we go. Thrust, climb, climb, nav, auto thrust. Anytime you had a FADEC fault or something that would cause you to degrade, you want to make sure both engines are both on the same setup. So for instance, if you lose EPR on one, you're going to put number two into you're going to manually put number two into N1 mode. That way you're controlling both engines by their N1. You don't want to be controlling one by N1 and one by EPR, because it's just going to confuse things and it could cause issues. So depending on what caused the failure to put you into that degraded state, just make sure both engines are output in the same format, if that makes any sense. Sounds like sorcery. Yeah, I know, it sure does, AJ. All right, let's keep breezing through this real quick here. So we got the N1 working. Yeah, fixed red line being drawn in N1 gauge. So yes, we did just confirm that. Let's get you back on the jump seat. There you go. Improved roll rate when bank ankle protection takes control. This is interesting. Might have to test that out. Potential issue, GSX boarding. Didn't have that. Adjusted D1, blah, blah, blah. Boarding music not playing in some scenarios. Several potential crashes. That's always good. Fuel venting based on airspeed. That's very interesting. I want to know how they came up with that. Improve latching into detents with incremental throttle control. So if you're flying with a keyboard, God help you, but at least you get more detent control. That's good. Improved brake application and release times for button users. That could definitely be a thing. I know if you're running, like, maybe you just have a HOTAS and you don't have pedals and you're applying brakes via a push button. Okay. Adjusted VLS calculation. This is an interesting one. I want to see what our VLS pops up into Ponce. I've been kind of keeping an eye on our VLS in the real airplane as well, so we'll look at that. Fix the missing EFIS, RMP, electric, and FCU LVAR. So we're not using SPAD for this airplane, so we don't need to worry about that. Auto deboarding not working correctly. Now attempts to deboard regardless of parking status. Okay. Fixed FMS2 nav aids not clearing when RMP goes into nav override. That's a good fix. Fixed display of flight director flag. Okay. Fixed ECAM flight control page. Automatically showing with too little control input. Okay. Improve fuel venting further. Fixed reset. Rat decal misplaced. They fixed that. Reverse your sound fade in on harsh on IAEs. Now, this is one that I did test before the stream. much better. It's much more realistic. So on the first release, if you went into reverse thrust, you had like, for a split second, it was almost like max volume reverse, and then it like reset itself and then applied reverse thrust. That's what it sounded like it was doing. Now, when you apply reverse thrust, it just sounds so much more realistic. I absolutely love it. I did try that on my circuit before the stream, so much improved. Increased N1 bearing volume on IAE engines. That makes me nervous because the sounds were so perfect before. I haven't noticed anything that makes it less perfect. So far so good. Maybe that's in relation to startup, I don't know. But the sounds, I mean, they are pretty much spot on. Reduced packs and cabin fan volume. Yeah, I didn't really notice. Slightly improved performance on audio engine. IAE startup sounds adjusted to be louder further away. Fixed initial start being too quiet, especially engine 2. That's what we tested. The new engine start sound very, very nice. It's crazy in New York today, Robinson. What's going on up there, man? Fixed missing animation for CFM. Nah, we don't care about CFM. Fixed American SATCOM text symbol cut off. Interesting. Fixed offset weathering on RMP VOR1 switch. Fixed floating ice probe on windscreen. Incorrect tooltip for pedals. Who flies with tooltips on? Take your tooltips off. Fixed main left landing gear tire animation missing. CFM inlet missing rivets. That's because it's a CFM. They probably fell out anyway. Fixed pylon labeling not being visible through cabin windows. Oh, really? Let's take a look-see here. Aha! So I didn't say anything, but I noticed that this wasn't there before, and I was like, that's one thing Carta had on the IAE engines. This is a panel, it's really hard to tell, aircraft right. So you know this panel 413 belongs on the aircraft right. So 413 aircraft right. Now if you look at the left side, you should have aircraft left. Or, well, yeah, I think that should be an L there. Maybe it's not exactly. I'm pretty sure that should be left. I could be wrong. Maybe aircraft right because it's on the right side of the engine. Maybe it'd have to be the left side of the other side. I don't know. But that's how they identify which panel goes on. It's actually labeled. I mean, we are really splitting hairs now, but at least you have labeling on your panels now. Cool. Let's continue. Check the seat belts, or check seats behind wings sounded different. Seems louder. Louder and more windy back here. Fixed brake temp detection unit being popped. Interesting. Fixed N1 buttons and maintenance bus switching tooltips. Modern wing decals. Fixed the definition for door of L4 for GSX. Improved LOD when switching between interior and exterior views. I mean, it happens pretty quick. Hello, Cap. Just woke up. I'll try to be on Unicom 122.7 at PSC. Time to set the fire truck. Hey, Abdilo, I'm going to write that down so don't forget. 122.7. I will try to remember to call you. Hopefully you're in the chat. Start blasting me in the chat if I don't call. But we'll go over the Ponce procedures once we get a little bit closer. Yeah, because Ponce has a whole set of procedures we got to do together, and we'll go over them. We got a lot to cover. We're still going through the changelog, but that'd be awesome, man. Appreciate you. It's definitely louder and windier. Yeah, that's what I'm hearing too. Louder and windier. Fixed cabin pressure decal not animating with door. Oh, okay. We looked at the cabin pressure decal before. You guys remember that on the last V-Spirit stream we did? That was pretty cool. We have a company message. Let's see here. Let's go Atsu, AOC, receive message. We're late. We were 27 minutes late? No. Par for the course. Ooh, look at that shot. Fixed AEVC loop thumps. Flight and engine model. Here we go. Improved heat transfer mechanics. That's what we really wanted to test out, like on a turnaround state. Greatly or gently adjusted ground effect. All right, I want to talk about this. I'm going to talk about what I experienced on one of my landings, a very small sample size. And I want to see if you guys have incurred this or not. One fellow in the Discord We're talking to DMs. He said he experienced it too. So I did 2 landings after this update. The first landing in Orlando, the second landing in Ponce. The second landing in Ponce seemed pretty normal. But the first landing I did, I wanted to test specifically the rudder control with SDS rudder dampening off with a crosswind. What happened on my landing, I did everything normally that I normally felt like I needed to do. When I went to flare, I put in the flare, and it was almost like it acted like I put in way too much flare way too early, and it almost like ballooned the airplane way up, almost like it rocket launched me. We didn't hit the ground, didn't do a bounce, and I never noticed that, or we didn't have that happen previous to this update. So I don't know if it still existed previous to this update, but I did notice it on that first test landing. I'm like, that's kind of weird. Hopefully they didn't adjust the landing too much, because I almost feel like, hopefully this is an unpopular opinion, but we're almost getting to the point of diminishing returns. If they continue to tweak how the airplane lands, eventually it's just going to be, everyone's going to be changing their stuff every single update. Now, the previous update, I thought, was the closest rendition that we ever had to a proper landing of the Airbus. Was it 100% realistic? Not quite. I think Amir was in the chat. He talked about how he could adjust the amount of, I even forget what we were talking about, something in the flare without having to change SDS off. I don't know if that's what these adjustments were with ground effect, but I just hope Fenix locks it in here on the landing flare, on the flare phase, and then we roll with it. Because if we keep changing it every single update, it's going to be very hard to stay up with the airplane and getting it to land. The flare stick pressure, is that what it was? Okay, maybe that's what it was. We're going to have to see how our landing in Ponce goes. It might have been me, because it does happen in real life. If you flare too hard too early, you will balloon the airplane, 100%. You will 100% balloon the airplane, and you will float to either outside of the touchdown zone, or you float it and you come back down and you can save it. So at 100% is a realistic behavior. If you have that where you flare and the airplane, you get too much flare and you have too much energy and you go back up in the sky. That does happen. Hopefully it doesn't happen again. Maybe it was just my input. Maybe I caught a gust of wind right at the wrong time. That can happen. If you're in that flare and you get a nice gust of headwind, it will balloon the airplane. That is what the real airplane does. That is what the sim should do. So we'll just keep an eye on it. I'm not saying it's a bug. I'm not saying it needs to be changed. I'm just saying I didn't notice it before. So let's just keep an eye on our landing in Ponce. We'll see what happens. It says the latest adjustment should strictly be ground effect changes. Okay, Caro, that does clear it up. So which direction can you say the ground effect was changed? Did it make it more prominent or less prominent as far as ground effect goes? Maybe it's connected to the VLS. Oh, that is a possibility, McAllen, because VLS would determine your energy state coming across the threshold into the flare as well, right? If your VLS is wrong, then your flare, the way the airplane responds to your flare, would also be very linked together. So we'll take a look at it. My statement still stands. I think this is the closest we ever been to a realistic landing Airbus. The way this airplane lands right now, I like it. I think it's good. I think it's awesome. So keep an eye on it. But I was just wondering what direction they went with the ground effect adjustment. It says gently adjusted ground effect. EFB, fixed boarding, fixed takeoff perf, not working correctly when using pounds, fixed polling navigraph too much, waiting for authentication, fixed issue could occur, fixed stop each living verification. Now, I skipped one, but there was one in here where I just thought was really cool. Improved, and this is gonna, hear me out on this. This is how you know Fenix truly cares. Improved engine spinner idle blur to help with frame gen artifacting. Okay, so not everybody's running frame gen, but a lot of people are running frame gen. And the fact that Fenix is taking into account what some people are running and trying to make it better, even for those that are running frame gen, like the frame gen mod that I have, that I run. I mean, it was originally an AMD? Yeah, AMD mod for NVIDIA cards now, like unlocked all this performance. So it's not even like I don't want to say legit, but it's not an official frame generation from NVIDIA. It's just a mod that I'm using. And Fenix is still adjusting their model to better their model for those that are using frame gen, which I just think, if anything says we care about our users, I mean, that says it right there. The fact that that's even in the mindset, because you could easily just go about and say, oh, well, people using frame gen, whatever, that's not even legit. They either have frame generation on the 40 series cards. Cool. If you're using a mod and it's causing artifacting, that's your own problem. The fact that they even include that in a changelog is just like, that's awesome. How about getting flaps 3 as the optimum takeoff config? Thrust set. So, I mean, there's got to be. We could go on for hours on this. So, there are multiple different ways to calculate takeoff performance. There are different limiting factors, and the way that I understand it from Fenix is they are the method that they are using to calculate performance will heavily favor flaps 3. Now, this can vary from operator to operator. Everyone can calculate performance slightly different. They could prioritize certain things over others. So from what I gather, Fenix is using the way that their takeoff data is calculating, it is preferring flaps 3. If you don't want to use flaps 3, then force it into flaps 1 or flaps 2. But I will tell you right out of the gate, let's go over some basic misconceptions on flaps for takeoff. So, a flaps 3 takeoff is going to get you airborne at a slower indicated airspeed, right? The problem with that, so you might think, oh, short runway, I always got to do flaps 3. The problem with that is you have to look at your climb performance in the second and third segment, climbing away from the runway. Is there also terrain? Because if you can take up more runway because you need to clear terrain further off the end of the runway,
Watching in between calls at work.
you might not want to prioritize flaps 3. You might want to do a flaps 2, or if you can do it, you might want to do a 1+F plus Toga to clear out a second segment obstacle. So just because a runway is short doesn't automatically always mean you should get flaps 3. Just because a runway is long doesn't mean you should always get 1+F, because there could be other factors at play where maybe a flaps 2 takeoff, or maybe you're taking off out of Denver, high density altitude, summertime, 12,000 foot runway. You know, it might be a different scenario. Then you'd probably be 1+F. It's just, there are a bunch of different factors that are going to go into play. So for me, it doesn't personally bother me. Whatever it spits out, flaps 3, I'll put flaps 1+F if I want it. Real life, whatever the data comes back saying, whether it's 1, 2, or 3, you roll with it. You look at your performance data and like, all right, let's go. It's just another day at the office. It's not really going to change anything. I will tell you the Neos really like flaps 2. It seems like most of the time in real life, my Neo takeoffs are flaps 2. And then in the CEOs, on the 20s specifically, it's kind of split between 1 and 2. I don't really get flaps 3 as much as I do in the Fenix, but the way my company calculates takeoff performance looks like it differs from the way Fenix is using their performance data to calculate takeoff data. Does that mean Fenix is wrong? No. It just means theirs is different than mine. So that's kind of all I'm going to get into the weeds about that. From Fenix EFB Dev, the current implementation is based from one real-world operator which optimizes TOPL, which in some cases doesn't make a lot of sense, but it is what the real one does. So there you go. So that's what they do. That's what they're running off of. And remember, that's one thing we get into flight simulation, simmers, everyone's got their own opinion about how it should be, because an Airbus is, I mean, it is, there are so many variations and there are so many different things that can be on an airplane that's not on another operator's airplane. You can't meet them all. So just like the whole engine 1 versus engine 2 starting debate, we're not going to go down that road. But the way Fenix is calculating it is just different from what someone else may be calculating it from. Doesn't mean it's wrong. It's just the way they're doing it. So anyway, what was that? Mike P. Late but watching in between calls at work. Mike P. Thank you for the $15 bank angle check, my friend. Appreciate you. Very, very kind. Hopefully you don't get in trouble bouncing around between calls and the stream, man, but appreciate you, dude. Block 2 update is free enough as it means Fenix, who cares? Exactly, I agree. I was trying to scroll back here. I don't like the native frame gen because it turns itself off whenever you move the camera to eliminate ghosting, so it's better to use an FPS game for flight sim sucks. Interesting, Trevor. Didn't know that. I've been getting a nice mix of flap settings from the EFB. No complaints. There you go. Yeah, I mean, I don't have any complaints either. It's just, that's one thing we got to keep in mind, you know. That's why I said, I think, I'm not sure, you might be North America, I can't remember, but yeah, so like our operators out here in the US, we pretty much all use the same takeoff data center, like Aero Data. It's very popular for a lot of different operators. Now, there are some different ones, but it is a very popular one, and generally speaking, I think flaps 1 and 2 is more common for most of our operations, but it's just, like I said, it's just different. Is the jump seat a little comfy? It is. What is our in-flight entertainment today? We are about ready to kick it off. Let's see. Let me reset Fly Live, because I don't know why Fly Live is doing its Fly Live things. I mean, it's just doing its Fenix thing here. That's so bizarre, man. It is so bizarre. I'm going to reset Fly Live. Give me a second. No, we have a full-blown Green Dot Aviation breakdown video day. It's going to be fun. TJPS, NKS 357. All right. Fly Live should be coming back up. How do you get such good wing views? I just create my own. Exclamation point wing view. Watch the video from my good friend XP72, and it'll get you where you need to be. My thinking behind it is, if you bind your views or bind your keys to do what you want, you can literally set any wing view that you want in any airplane. Like, I really like that wing view right there, right over the top of the wing, but you don't really get to see any scenery. You know, here's an exit door right here. I like this one. What's out there on the wing? Looks like a decal. Might need some updating. But yeah, bind your, if you want to get rid of the cabin but still have the cabin, you can like hack your view, you know, or you can just turn the cabin off. Just depends. I like having the cabin on because it forces me to create a realistic perspective of the wing and engine, you know? Like, if I turn the cabin off, I could raise the camera all the way up and you get a full shot of the engine, which is cool, but I like to be forced into a realistic perspective of my wing view. So bind your keys to move the camera the way you want it to move, and then you can set any wing view you personally want. So the real thing we need is YouTube on EFB. That's what I should have done. Will there be in-flight snacks? Yes, we have buzz balls and snack packs free for everybody, Mickey G. All right. Let's get ready to, there's going to, YouTube tells me when it shoots an ad out. I guess there's going to be an ad for some viewers in like 20 seconds, so brace yourselves. An ad is coming. But that means it is time to start our breakdown. Who wants to watch some Green Dot Aviation? Are we all caught up on the chat here? I want to make sure I didn't miss any good questions, because you guys have some great questions. Dougal said, can you demonstrate some stuff about alternate law and how, why? Dougal, yes, probably for a different flight though, a different stream though. We've done, yeah, you've been around, you've seen me do alternate law and stuff before. You know, how, why, etc. Alternate law, basically, the only time you're going to get an alternate law, Dougal, is you have a failure of one or more redundant systems. All right? So the most common way to get into alternate law is going to be you already are dispatching with something in op. right? Because if you already dispatched with something in op, then when something else breaks, you're probably going to get a lot closer to alternate law than you would if everything was working normally. So I think statistically speaking, when you're flying with something already broken, something already deferred, maybe flight control computer out, now if you lose another one, you could potentially get an alternate law. But remember, the failure of one or more redundant systems is what's going to put you in alternate law. Now, direct law, most common case of direct law is because you are in alternate law already for something else, and then you put the gear down, and then the airplane's going to go into direct law. Now, to get a failure directly into direct law, it is possible. It can happen, although it is pretty rare. And then unusual recovery, not really a law. It's a flight logic that allows you to recover the airplane from an abnormal attitude. I think the idea behind that is to recover from either, some crazy upset, whether you flew through a wake or something crazy in weather, or somehow you rolled it, I don't know, unforeseen circumstances, and then you get that unusual attitude. If you're in alternate law, things are pretty fact. Exactly. All right, let me get that sweet chili instant noodles. Chris Stuper, my man, you know it, dude. All right, for snacks, we have these nuts. Let's go to our, let's take one look outside real quick before we go. Where are we at? Look at the ocean today. It's pretty bleh. Almost looks like X-plane until you look at the water. Man, that looks good. Nice blue water today, not a cloud in the sky. What I do want to do is I want to run the time forward 1 hour, because I don't want to land at sunset, but I want to land around like 4-ish p.m. Eastern, or 3-ish. So it's 12:36. Let's run it forward to 2:30. We're not going to do a sunset landing, but I don't want that sun to be off the 12 o'clock position, because that's a meh. All right, we'll let them roam. What's our cruise altitude? Optimum 35, recommended max 376. Freeport is at 16, 18. Oh, that's going to mess everything up. We're ready to fly through it. We may not step up to 37. All right, seatbelt sign is off. Let's settle in for some green dot aviation. Let's see here. Well, first things first, we're going to get our in-flight screen up. We're going to get Mr. Green Dot up himself. We're going to bring up the... Oops. All right. Our TV is primed. Let me get a sip of water. Hold on. Remember, if you guys enjoy this part of the stream, if you enjoy breaking down these videos, highly recommend you go check out Green Dot Aviation. Check out his channel. He's actually training to become a real-world pilot now. I think I don't know if he had a career switch or whatnot, but the last update that I saw from him, he's in training. He's in flight training himself. He's obviously had a passion for aviation as he made all these accident videos. So run over to his channel, either subscribe, leave a comment. Anytime a fellow content creator allows another content creator to use their content, it's a personal. I mean, he's obviously spent a lot of time and effort into these videos, and to share that, it's not always easy. So help the algorithm out. Go comment on this video that we're about to watch. Say we appreciate you supporting V1, and we support you, and I know you guys will do the right thing because you're V1 Nation. So here we go. Let me get some water in. We are going to watch
on a cold February
Iberia 727. So let me turn down the sim all the way down to about there. Hopefully this won't be too loud. Let me know how the audio is. We need to upgrade our IFE. Too small for blind people like you. Well, maybe we'll have to see if I can get a bigger screen. We're going to have to get an EFB.
morning in 1985, a Boeing 727 carrying 148 passengers and crew slips into the foggy abyss of the mountains of northern Spain. And
How's
in
the
this
audio?
abyss lies a deadly surprise. The pilots are seconds away from finding out that they have made a grave error. How did they make this mistake? And why hasn't the captain said a word for over 100 kilometers? This is the strange story of Iberia Flight 610.
Iberia 610. There's a reason I picked this video. We're not flying into Spain today, but we are flying into a small little airport on an island, Puerto Rico. There is some terrain around, and while it's rather benign, if you make mistakes and you don't catch them, you could end up in a pretty nasty situation. Now, obviously, we have much more sophisticated technology on the A320 than you do on the 727, so it's much easier to fall into these mistakes in these older aircraft. That's why these gentlemen were the true pioneers of aviation. Look at that 7.2 there. What a beautiful, I don't care who you are. Three-holers are just the best. Look at that. All right. Let's get into it. Loud and clear, 5x5. Here we go. I love his intro. I like his new one, too. I'm going to have to make an intro. Like, we don't have an official intro. Everyone's got official intros. We need one for the channel.
On the morning of February 19th, 1985, 141 passengers boarded a Boeing 727 operated by Iberia at Madrid's Barajas Airport in Spain. They were bound for Bilbao, in the north of the country, just about an hour away. As the passengers took their seats, they were unaware that up in the cockpit a silent storm was brewing. Sitting up front, in the left-hand seat, was 51-year-old Captain Jose Luis Patiño. He had been flying with Iberia for 19 years, and had amassed over 13,000 hours of flying time since starting his career.
Definitely got some experience.
He was described by colleagues as being an excellent pilot, but on this flight, he would exhibit some strange behaviour. His behaviour would be so unusual, in fact, that it would put him at the centre of a nationwide controversy in the following weeks and months. Sitting to Patiño's right was 38-year-old First Officer Emilio Lopez Peña. He had over 5,000 hours of flying experience, 2,000 of which were on the 727. Despite his experience, on this morning, Lopez Peña would make a mistake which studies by NASA had warned about for years. Sitting behind the two pilots, at the flight engineer station, was 38-year-old Gregorio Aroba Martin. He was the least experienced of the crew, with just under 3,000 hours of flying time, all of which were on the 727.
3,000. He's the least experienced on the crew with 3,000 hours sitting on a 727. Now, flight engineer seat sitting sideways, you arguably will have some of the best situational awareness of the crew, because not only are you situationally aware of what's happening to the airplane and out in front of the airplane like the pilots are, you are seated behind the pilot sideways. So you are also getting the situational awareness of both crew members in front of you, which is something that you lack from the pilot seat. Like you think you can't have it, but there's nothing like sitting behind. I would equate it to being on a jump seat. You know, a jump seater, an in-tune jump seater will have fantastic situational awareness because they are not focused on the energy state of the airplane. They are not focused on flying the aircraft and listening to the radios. They are sitting back and watching you do all of those things. So their situational awareness window is much larger. It's just comes with the position. So keep that in mind as we keep going. But yeah, 3,000 hours being the least experience. This is a pretty seasoned crew.
Despite the strangeness of the events which would unfold over the next hour,
727 is
all
sexy.
was more or less normal as the pilots worked through their checklists and prepared their aircraft for departure.
Man, FlyJSim looks so good. Please come to Microsoft, FlyJSim.
At 20 minutes to 9 that morning, Flight 610 pushed back from the gate at Madrid. This would be a relatively busy flight for the pilots. Its short duration meant that a large proportion of the flight would be taken up by the high workload events surrounding takeoff and landing. For the captain, it would be especially demanding, as this was one of his first flights in over 6 months.
Ooh.
We'll get into why that was in a few moments.
First flight in over 6 months. I've been in those exact, not quite 6. I took 4 months, I think. Is it 5? 4 or 5 months was my longest span between flights. Obviously, when I came back, I had to do, actually, I didn't have to. I went to the sim for landings. I stayed current. And then I came back. Yeah, it was rusty. It does have, It is a perishable skill. Flying is a perishable skill. I will say the advent of Microsoft Flight Simulator or any flight simulation, whether it's X-Plane, FS9, FSX, it can help you stay proficient with your procedures. During COVID, the COVID years, you guys remember this channel, I was pumping out a ton of content because I was using the sim not only to provide content for y'all, but to also keep my head in the game because I took a 3-month VIL. I took a couple of months here and there just off away from work because my company was offering paid time off. So you use the sim as a tool. Back in these days, they didn't quite have that. So keep that in mind. Going 6 months without stepping foot inside of an airplane, let alone it be a 727 airplane. Yeesh.
This episode is sponsored by War Thunder. War Thunder is the most comprehensive online vehicle combat game ever made, with more than 2,000 vehicles, including planes, helicopters, tanks,
Who plays
and
War
ships.
Thunder?
I really like how detailed the vehicles are. They're modeled down to their individual components, each of which
They sent
can
me
be
an email
damaged in
one
battle,
time.
which makes for some exciting gameplay.
Actually, a couple times.
I've also enjoyed how much
sponsor the
interaction
video,
there is between all
play
the
War
vehicles in
Thunder.
the game.
Like, eh.
If you like flying the planes like I do, you'll get shot at by other players playing as ships at sea and tanks on the ground. So it's a really active world.
Patchy.
The 4K graphics are great, and the authentic sound effects really give the game an immersive atmosphere. It's free to play on PC,
I mean, it looks
Xbox
good.
Series X, up with my link, which includes multiple premium vehicles, a premium account, boosters, and much more. As Flight 610 taxied out to the runway at Madrid, the passengers had no reason to suspect that anything was out of the ordinary. However, events which they had been reading about in the newspapers over the past few months were soon about to affect them directly. The previous summer, a number of Iberia pilots had gone on strike in opposition to layoffs at the company. As retaliation for this, Iberia had fired some of these striking pilots.
Ouch. That's why you got to
And
strike in
sitting up in
unity.
the cockpit of Flight 610 was one of them. Captain Patino had been reinstated a few months previously, but, as we'll see shortly, all was not well between him and his employer. At just before 10 to 9 that morning, First Officer Lopez Peña lined the aircraft up at the runway and applied takeoff thrust.
Ooh, way too fast. No FADEC. That would be a compressor stall.
Within moments, the plane was rocketing skywards,
Look
and
at
the
that
first officer
7-2.
steered it north towards Bilbao.
So,
Flight
such a good
610
looking
would
airplane.
arrive in less than 45 minutes.
All right, short flight, high workload airplane.
Shortly after departure, the pilots reached their cruising altitude of 26,000 feet. They began chatting, and a flight attendant brought them coffee. The contents of their conversation have never been released,
Interesting.
but we can hazard a guess about them by noticing a difference in the captain's demeanor before the conversation and after it. Before this conversation took place, he appeared to be participating fully in the operation of the aircraft. He made radio calls to air traffic control, and he acted as a second set of eyes and ears to aid the first officer in flying the aircraft. But once this conversation had taken place, there was a stark difference in the captain's level of involvement. In fact, he became almost completely silent from this point. In a few minutes, his passivity would take an even more serious form.
This is very interesting. I don't know if this is the one I wanted to watch. I don't know if I've seen this one. I thought I was watching a different one. Either way, we're going to keep watching this one. So, I don't know if this is very interesting. So, they had a conversation. Somebody was just laid off for striking, reinstated, and then there's the FO that's been there the whole time. There might be something going on, some animosity now, post-conversation. This is why I find it so strange. The fact that none of this gets released is interesting in and of itself. But obviously something has happened. And I will tell you from experience, I have been on the flight deck where everything has been hunky-dory, 5x5, everyone's chilling. You get into a topic of conversation that is sensitive for somebody, and then the demeanor on the flight deck changes. Now, I want to say that I haven't personally been the one that's changed. I don't think I can. I always tried to be a good chameleon as a first officer because you're going to fly with all kinds of different characters in the left seat. Cooperate, graduate. But I have been in the flight deck where the other pilot has not agreed with something that I have said, and maybe something that I have said has struck a nerve, and the demeanor has changed between the two of us. Now, at no point do I ever let any of that affect the safety or compromise the safety of the flight, because that is why you're up there. You're not up there to become best friends. You're up there to operate from A to B safely and on time. That's your job. So over the years, you learn which conversations to avoid, but I will be 100% transparent. I have been in the flight deck when something has come up that has changed the dynamic between the two of us. So let's see if he releases more information on this. I'm not sure if I've actually seen this one. I thought we were going to watch one about a procedure turn.
The aircraft being used for this flight was a 6-year-old Boeing 727. The 727 was a popular short to medium haul aircraft, and Iberia had 23 of them, which it used extensively on its European and North African routes. It was a reliable plane, which could get in and out of small airports with ease. But the ones Iberia owned were behind the times in some important ways. For one thing, it had an antiquated altimeter, which displayed the plane's altitude in a rather confusing way. This drum pointer instrument displayed the plane's altitude by showing thousands of feet in this window here, and hundreds of feet using a clock-style pointer. For example, right now, as the pilots were in the cruise...
Does that say Murica on the nose? I'm confused. Why does it say Murica on the nose?
By showing thousands of feet in this window here, and hundreds of feet using a clock-style pointer.
Right there. That says Murica. Or Murcia. Oh, okay, it doesn't say Murica. Never mind. No American. All right.
For example, right now, as the pilots were in the cruise, their altimeter shows 26 in this window, meaning 26,000, and 0 on this dial, meaning that they're exactly at 26,000 feet. If they were at 26,300 feet, it would look like this. Many pilots had expressed frustration at using this type of altimeter, because it required them to look twice at their instrument, rather than just once.
Especially if you had, I don't know if this is true, but if you have multiple different, or if you have multiple altimeters in different, like in the fleets, like maybe one tail number has a different one, that can be extremely confusing. I don't know if that's the case here, but they obviously have already expressed confusion with the version that they had in the 7.2. So when you have to look twice at something as basic as an altimeter, then red flag already, right?
This made it liable to being misread. On a typical altimeter, there is an hour hand to indicate thousands of feet, and a minute hand to indicate hundreds of feet. This requires just a quick glance to read, and is far less likely to be misread. Another important change had also not been implemented, which we'll take a closer look at as the plane nears Bilbao. At 7 minutes past 9 that morning, the first officer contacted the airline's operations center at Bilbao. He told them that he was expecting to land in 17 minutes, and he requested the weather information at the airport. As was typical for February in the north of Spain, the weather was cold and foggy. These conditions were less than ideal, but the pilots were well used to landing in them. They would just need to be vigilant during approach, as the airport was surrounded by mountains, which they would now be unable to see.
Just another day at the office for this crew, though, right?
The pilots briefed their arrival into Bilbao, looking over their approach charts and planning their route. But unbeknownst to them, there was something missing from their charts. Something which lay lurking in the clouds. 3 minutes after getting the weather information, Flight 610 was cleared to begin its descent into Bilbao. But this is when things went from relatively normal to somewhat strange. Normally, one pilot flies the plane, and the other talks to air traffic control. Yet for some reason on this flight, First Officer Lopez Peña was doing both jobs.
Ooh.
Since that conversation earlier in the flight, the captain had remained curiously silent.
Interesting.
However, there was one part of the plane's operation that Captain Patino was staying on top of. He went about setting up the autopilot to get the aircraft to descend. He did this by twisting the dial beside the altitude window here, until it read 10,000 feet. Then, he pressed the altitude select button here, which instructed the aircraft to level off when it reached 10,000 feet. In a matter of minutes, they would be in Bilbao. The flight attendant announced to the passengers that they would be landing shortly.
So obviously the captain is still at the flight deck, or else they would have known that he left the flight deck. So he's up there and he's not doing anything. Well, you fly the airplane, you fly You fly, you talk on the radio mentality, maybe. I don't know. Something's obviously going on because it is not normal. It is not normal for one pilot to be doing everything. Definitely abnormal. And this is definitely the video that I did not think we were watching. I have not seen this one before. So we're kind of seeing it together for the first time. I thought we were going to watch one where the procedure turn got jacked up. Never mind. We'll continue to watch it, though. But I want to see what happens here, because I'm actually very interested. I've never seen this one.
Nobody on board had any idea that over the next few minutes, the pilots would make a series of unlikely missteps, which would endanger the lives of everyone on the plane. A few minutes into the descent, First Officer Lopez Peña contacted the tower controller and told him that they were descending through 13,000 feet on their way down to 10,000. We're now about to see why the captain had been so silent up until this point. The controller cleared the crew to descend to 7,000 feet and asked whether they would like a shortcut to the runway.
Uh-oh.
Let's take a look at the area surrounding the airport so we can understand this shortcut.
Let's take a moment before we see what Green Dot says here. Anytime you get a shortcut, when you're going into an airport that is surrounded by terrain, that is a topic of discussion. It's something that I always try to brief when you're flying into anywhere in South America, sometimes in Mexico, sometimes on the western part of the U.S. If you're going in and out of Salt Lake, Reno, Vegas even, you can get a shortcut to the final approach fix at night. You got to cross over the final approach fix at Preno. Is it Preno? Yeah. If you're too low, there's a little mountain there that they have cleared. They have had close calls of crews going right over this mountain in Vegas, which is not that crazy of an airport, and almost impacting terrain because they descended too low. Too low off of the localizer. So anytime you get a shortcut in mountainous terrain, you got to be aware of what is going on in front of the airplane well before you get there if you start deviating from a published route. Let's see what he says here.
Bilbao's airport is surrounded on three sides by tall mountains. For planes to approach it safely, they have to follow a predefined path. This involves flying directly to a navigation beacon located at the airport, while maintaining at least 7,000 feet. Then, the procedure dictates that once the plane has reached this beacon, it should fly away from it for 24 kilometers to what's known as the approach fix, which is a waypoint on the extended center line of the runway. As the plane flies towards the approach fix, it can descend to 5,000 feet. Then, on reaching the approach fix, it should execute a 180-degree turn to line up with the runway.
So it's a full procedure VOR approach is what it is.
This procedure was quite straightforward, and it kept planes safely above the mountainous terrain throughout. But on this day, the traffic at the airport was light, and the controller offered the pilots a shortcut. He said that if they wanted, they could fly directly to the approach fix, and then continue on into the runway. It was actually quite common for controllers at Bilbao to offer this to pilots when traffic conditions permitted. In fact, it was so common that the first officer had taken this shortcut more often than he had flown the full procedure.
So
when the controller asked him if he wanted to take it, he was just about to accept when he caught sight of the captain, who motioned at him to take the standard procedure instead.
Okay, so that's interesting. That's an interesting tidbit right there. But yes, Gustavo brought up a good point. And if available, check the min radar altitude chart. Some controllers assume a lot of things, including that you will be aware of the minimum altitude for vectors. That is especially true as you travel outside of the United States. Especially true as you go into parts of South America, the Guatemala area. It is definitely something you need to be aware of. Now, it almost seems like the majority, and maybe not the majority, but I feel like a lot of these accidents that we watch, they happen on days where everything is pretty much just chill. There's some weather in the area, not a big deal. For this crew, the amount of experience this crew has, clouds and fog at the destination, that is just an afterthought. They're like, it's above minimums, cool, we're going, doesn't even matter. They've done it so many times. They're getting a shortcut potentially to a final approach fix instead of the full procedure. They've done it a dozen times or more. Not a big deal. Traffic is light. So all these things that you normally think, when something bad happens, an airplane crashes, there must have been so much traffic. The radio was going crazy, a lot of extra vectoring going on. And while that does happen, sometimes it's just the easiest of days that go bad really, really quick, which kind of seems like this is where we're headed on this one. I have not seen this particular video, but it's interesting where Green Dot brought up there that the captain then told him to do the full procedure. Now, is that going to be out of spite, or is that because the captain wants to be extra cautious? I don't know. Let's roll it forward here. Let's see here. Complacency with the familiar. Exactly, Dale. Exactly. Complacency can kill you. Definitely.
Was it that the captain thought the shortcut was unsafe? After all, it was foggy in the valley leading up to the runway. Maybe it would be better to play it safe and stick to the standard procedure. Well, that wasn't the first officer's first thought. In fact, his first thought had to do not with the flight in that moment, but months back the previous summer. He knew that the captain had been one of the pilots who Iberia had fired for going on strike. And crucially, since reinstating him a few months ago, the airline had not been paying him.
Ooh.
The first officer asked the captain, "Have they paid you? Have they given you back your pay?" The captain made a gesture indicating that they hadn't paid him.
So
And the
wants to
first
burn
officer
more
told
fuel.
air traffic control, "We'll make the standard maneuver."
Okay, this is a touchy subject here, but I'm going to be real with y'all. This is a real thing, even in today's day and age of aviation. Now, the most common, technically speaking, you cannot do any organized action against the company, to do things that cause more cash burn. But the time where these things come up is during either contract negotiations. I remember there was a time when there was a certain very large legacy carrier going through a very rough time with labor negotiations in the union, and every single airplane was taxiing at about 3 knots. Okay? Well, we're just being safe. How are you going to argue that? They're being safe. They're taxiing slow. You want them to taxi faster? You're going to publish a minimum taxi speed now? So while this may sound crazy to the uninformed or just not even uninformed, just someone who is not in aviation as a profession, you're like, that's real? It is real. It happens to this day. There are instances where crews will do things for spite. Another common one is, hey, we get paid by the minute, right? Let's go get de-iced. Do we need to get de-iced? Nope. But, well, technically it's below freezing, and I saw a little frost crystal on the windshield wiper, so we're going to go get de-iced this morning. Now, are you going to argue that? Well, Captain, why'd you go get de-iced? Well, I thought it was in the interest of safety. Okay, well, you're not going to tell someone to be less safe, but that whole maneuver you just pulled to go get de-iced and the Type 1 and Type 4 fluid just cost I don't know how many thousands of dollars, but you added an hour to your block time for the trip. It sounds bad and it's awful, but it happens. So malicious compliance, that's a great way to put it, malicious compliance. And that almost seems like, is this where we're headed? Malicious compliance? I don't know. I'm just as interested as you are because I haven't seen this before. It's either malicious compliance or it's because he wants to be extra safe. But the fact that they're talking about pay and the dude has been on strike and hasn't been paid leads me to personally believe that they were doing malicious compliance here to burn a little extra fuel, especially if it was common practice to go direct to this final approach fix. If it was non-common practice and they were unfamiliar with the airport, then maybe I could see, okay, obviously they're just trying to take the safe course of action. But if it's something they've done before, okay, I think it's pretty obvious what's going on here. Now, one thing I missed, did they say why the pilots went on strike? I might have missed it. I didn't know any of this happened, so I'm kind of learning with you. If you remember why they went on strike, put it in the comments. Let's continue watching.
It might seem bizarre that the captain of a passenger jet was making flight-related decisions out of spite for his company. But this practice wasn't uncommon in Iberia at the time. The first officer went on to tell Patino that just 2 days beforehand, he had flown with another captain who had also been on strike and who had not received his pay from the airline, and who had rejected a shortcut for that reason. There was a semi-coordinated effort among some of the fired pilots, the accused, as the first officer called them, to cost the airline time and money by refusing shortcuts and other time-saving measures from air traffic control.
Mm-hmm.
Not wanting to rock the boat any further, the first officer turned to the flight engineer, and both men began working through the descent checklist. The captain remained silent.
Interesting.
the controller acknowledged the crew's intention to fly the full arrival procedure, and asked them to report when they were over the beacon. He needed them to tell him this because back in 1985, Bilbao didn't have radar. As such, controllers had to rely on position reports from pilots in order to get an idea of where the aircraft were in their airspace. Despite his silence, there was one task the captain did stay on top of. This was setting up the altitude alert system. The altitude alert system is linked to the autopilot, and, like the name suggests, it alerts the pilots when they are nearing or deviating from their selected altitude. In this case, the crew were descending to 7,000 feet. When the plane had 900 feet left to go in its descent, the altitude alert system emitted a 2-second aural tone, and a light illuminated here in the cockpit. This light stayed on until the plane had 300 feet left to go, indicating that it was about to level off at its selected altitude. If, for whatever reason, the descent continued below the selected altitude, the light would begin to flash on and off, as a way of alerting the pilots that they had deviated from their chosen altitude.
So obviously there is a difference between malicious compliance and, like being crazy. Like he doesn't want to kill himself or doesn't want to damage the airplane, doesn't want to do anything reckless with the airplane. He's still on top of the altitude alerter window. So you can kind of throw the whole German wings thing out of it. It's like he obviously has a beef with the company, but by setting an altitude alert window, he still wants to stay on top of it. He still understands his role in safety here. So let's keep going. Gustavo says, Wikipedia page says the captain was fired because of the strike until Iberia was forced to take back all pilots fired for the strike. Okay, makes sense.
All was well with this system as the pilots descended to 7,000 feet en route to the beacon. As the pilots descended, the atmosphere in the cockpit was calm. Captain Patiño had begun absent-mindedly singing a Spanish song, Ay que ver, while in the passenger cabin, a flight attendant updated the passengers on the weather and told them to fasten their seatbelts. They would be on the ground in a matter of minutes. As Flight 610 neared the Bilbao radio beacon, the first officer notified the tower that he was beginning to join the standard arrival procedure.
So
he
they're
then
actually
instructed
doing
the
the full
autopilot
procedure.
to turn the plane to the right and fly away from the beacon. Meanwhile, the captain put 5,000 feet in the autopilot's altitude window, and the aircraft began descending at a leisurely rate of 1,000 feet per minute. So far, everything was going to plan. But over the next few seconds, those oddities I mentioned before, the outdated altimeter, the silent captain, and the choice of the standard approach path, would all conspire to put the aircraft in grave danger. As the aircraft reached 5,000 feet, the captain dialed back the altitude selector to 4,300 feet, which was the next altitude called for in the approach path. We focused on the behavior of the captain so far.
Look at those slats.
But now, it was the first officer's turn to do something strange. He dialed in a descent rate of 1,500 feet per minute.
Hey.
Considering that they were already at an altitude of 5,000 feet and only had to descend to 4,300,
700 feet.
a descent rate of 1,500 feet per minute was unnecessarily steep. So why did the first officer choose to descend so fast? The answer to this question lies just a few moments ago, when the controller offered the pilots a shortcut. Normally, the first officer would have opted to take the shortcut, which involved flying directly to the approach fix and then heading for the runway.
So he thought he was closer than he actually was?
To ensure that they remained clear of the surrounding mountains, planes taking this shortcut had to remain at an altitude of 7,000 feet until they reached the approach fix. From there, they would descend steeply to 4,300 feet while looping back towards the runway.
So shorter.
This was the method the
descend.
first officer had grown familiar with. But today, his captain had opted to take the standard approach. And on the standard approach, planes reached the approach fix not at 7,000 feet, but at 5,000.
Okay.
As such, they only had to lose 700 feet during the loop to the runway. However, as it turned out, the first officer was so used to taking the shortcut that he had begun to associate being at the approach fix with entering a rapid descent. His unconscious mind simply told him, if you're at the approach fix, now you have to descend quickly to make it down to 4,300 feet by the time you've lined up with the runway. And that's exactly what happened when Flight 610 reached the approach fix. this time at just 5,000 feet. The first officer selected his usual descent rate of 1,500 feet per minute, and the plane began descending.
All
However
right.
unfortunate this oversight was, though, it shouldn't have presented much of an issue.
I was going to say, what's
After
the big
all,
issue, though?
it
He's
was
still clear to
perfectly safe for the
descend.
plane to be at 4,300 feet at any point during the loop. All the first officer had done was to tell the autopilot to get down faster. But on this flight, this small mistake would end up having vastly outsized consequences, all because of what the captain did next. For whatever reason, be it distraction or simple forgetfulness, when Captain Patino selected 4,300 feet on the autopilot, he didn't follow this up by pressing the altitude select button.
Live and die by alt sail.
This meant that the plane would simply continue descending without regard to the altitude dialed into the window.
Golly.
With every passing second, the plane was drawing closer to the mountains below. Both pilots were oblivious to the fact that it had not been told to level off at 4,300 feet.
I just lost track of where he was. He just didn't know where he was.
But the plane was far from doomed at this point. Think back to the altitude alert system from a few moments ago, and how it alerts pilots with an aural tone when they have deviated from their selected altitude. On the 727, an aural tone sounds when the plane has descended more than 300 feet below the selected altitude. Less than a minute after the pilots began their descent, this aural tone sounded, right as the plane passed below 4,000 feet.
You're doing 1,500 feet a minute.
But here's where the first officer's mental model of the situation again caused him to miss something important. When he heard this sound, he thought it was the tone telling him that he was now 900 feet above his selected altitude, as the same tone was used for both of these alerts.
He's mentally
This was completely in line with what he expected,
behind
as he would
what the
usually have
airplane's
begun the
doing.
descent from 7,000 feet, and would expect to be hearing that tone around now. So, to him, hearing it was confirmation that he now had 900 feet to go until he reached 4,300.
And it's the same tone. So the same tone for getting ready to level at 900 as going below. Now, where's your instrument scan at this point, though? You should be cross-referencing the altitude. You should, at some point, see you need to be at 4,300 feet, right? So you are starting to build up the Swiss cheese model here. We're starting to align the holes, because even as it is, at 4,300 feet, he still should be fine as he goes below that, but someone has to look at the altitude and see where they are with the aircraft. Now, is there other conversation going on during this approach? I'd be interested to know. What does the full CVR say? Was there any other discussion below 10? Were they still talking about things? Or was this just straight up mental error, checked out captain mentally, and the FO got a step behind what the airplane was actually doing, and the sounds and everything else was telling him that it was confirming what he was thinking where the airplane was, but he was actually a step behind what the airplane was doing. Whenever you start getting behind the airplane, that's when bad things happen. So he's clearly at least one step behind what the airplane is doing.
300 feet. He had no idea that, in fact, it was telling him that he was now 300 feet below his selected altitude, and getting lower by the second. Responding to this sound, the first officer reduced the aircraft's rate of descent from 1,500
Because he's
feet
getting
per
ready
minute
to level.
to 750 feet per minute, as he expected that it would be leveling off soon.
That's
He
normal.
started the turn back
So
to the airport,
100%
which involved
believes he's
first a
leveling
left turn,
off soon.
followed by a right-hand loop to line up with the runway. All while he carried out this maneuver, the plane was drifting steadily downwards. Despite all of this, though, there were still two things that should have alerted the pilots to their situation.
Where's the flight engineer on this? Where's the flight engineer looking at the altitude window? Why isn't the flight engineer paying attention to what's happening with the altitude alert horn? That's my question now. Well, you have three sets of eyes up there. Where's the flight engineer calling out? Remember I said he has the most situational awareness, being behind everybody, watching what's happening up front? So I'm kind of surprised. I'm very surprised that at this point we haven't heard anything from the flight engineer. Man, confirmation bias to the max right now. I mean, geez. Mickey G says that's one of the reasons why we have a CRM call out when we hear that tune. Very interesting, Mickey G. Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, classic confirmation bias all around. That's why we have to learn about doing human performance class. I mean, that is, you can't, it's almost like you can't even fault the first officer so far, because He was expecting to hear something from the airplane. He heard something from the airplane. He reacted exactly. He halved his descent rate in anticipation of leveling the airplane at 4,300 feet. So everything he is doing, he has been confirmed from the airplane. But the one thing he's missing is, what's your altitude? Yeesh.
First of these was their altimeters. There were 3 of them in the cockpit. 1 for captain, 1 for first officer, and 1 backup. It was the duty of the non-flying pilot, in this case Captain Patino, to monitor the altimeter, while the first officer flew the plane. But, in keeping with his general lack of involvement throughout the approach, he didn't do this. The first officer was left with both the flying duties and the radio duties with air traffic control. And, in this high workload situation, it's quite possible that the first officer simply misread his altitude as being higher than it actually was. This would have been easy to do, given the indicated design of the altimeter.
Oh boy, here we go.
In fact, in surveys of pilots, over 80% had admitted to misreading this style of altimeter. Nonetheless, it's highly unlikely that both Patino and Lopez Peña misread their altimeters in the same way. Either one pilot or both pilots simply weren't keeping an eye on their altitude as the plane slipped below 4,300 feet. Hidden in the clouds all around them were towering mountains, the peaks of which they were now descending below. But there was one last line of defense: the ground proximity warning system. This is a sensor installed on the underside of the aircraft, which alerts pilots when it detects rapidly rising terrain beneath the aircraft,
They're light, short
say
flight,
when it flies towards a mountainside.
So they got to have the performance to climb
When
rapidly.
the pilots hear this alert, their response is to rapidly put the aircraft into a steep climb. And that's exactly what the pilots of Flight 610 would have done at this moment, were it not for one important thing.
Was it inhibited?
Their aircraft did not have a ground proximity warning
You
system.
gotta be kidding.
So, the plane continued its descent below the minimum safe altitude as the mountains, obscured by fog, began to crowd around it. But the ultimate stroke of misfortune had nothing to do with anything we've just looked at, because Flight 610 was not on a collision course with a mountain. In fact, even though the pilots were now 1,000 feet below their selected altitude, they should have been just fine. That is, were it not for an object lurking in the fog.
Or some
An
tower or
object
something.
which wasn't even on their approach charts. At 27 minutes past 9, a television mast appeared out of nowhere, right in front of the plane. There was no time to react. The aircraft's left wing hit the mast and was torn off, sending the plane into an uncontrollable spiral. In a matter of seconds, it was over. Iberia Flight 610, carrying 148 passengers and crew, crashed inverted into the valley of Mount Oise. There were no survivors.
You gotta be kidding.
The investigation which followed this accident, carried out by Spain's Civil Aviation Accident and Incident Investigation Commission, recommended that airlines properly train the pilot not flying to call out altitudes during descent, so that all crew members maintain situational awareness during this critical phase of flight. It also recommended that the outdated drum and pointer style altimeters be replaced with altimeters which are less likely to be misread, and, importantly, that the sound used for deviations from the selected altitude be made different than the sound used to tell pilots they had 900 feet left to go. Incredibly, the final report failed to mention the one piece of technology which would almost certainly have prevented the crash: the ground proximity warning system. In the United States, this had been mandatory in passenger aircraft for the previous decade, but in Spain, no such requirement existed. It would be another few years before the system was made mandatory in Spain. The introduction of this technology came too late for the passengers and crew of Flight 610, but in large part thanks to its introduction around the world in the subsequent years, crashes like this have become far less common than they were just a few decades ago.
What a jet.
Thanks again to War Thunder for sponsoring this video. Click my link in the description box to play War Thunder for free on PC, PlayStation or Xbox. To say a special thanks to the Patreon and YouTube members for making it possible for my team and I to keep producing these in-depth videos. If you'd like to help us make more, you can support Green Dot Aviation on Patreon. I've put the link here on screen. I'd especially like to thank...
Alright, we're going to break that down. Make sure you head over to Green Dot Aviation, leave a comment on this video. This one was, what was it? This was Iberia 1610 or something. Man. Yeah, that was Iberia 610. So head over to Green Dot, leave a comment, let them know you enjoyed watching it over on the V1 channel. Huge shout out again to Green Dot Aviation for sponsoring us, partnering with us here today. Let's go ahead and reset my wing view here. Okay, so that is a video that I did not anticipate watching. I thought we were going to watch one about another one. I think it was in the islands, if I'm not mistaken. Let's take a quick look at our airplane, make sure everything's doing okay here. And man, that just makes you sick. We're 353 miles. All right, we still got some time. Everything else is looking good. We're cruising. We flew past the step. That's fine. Let's do an outside view. Actually, I kind of like this view for now. All right, so a lot of things in that video went down. I mean, it's hard to say. I like how Green Dot Aviation brought in the status of the flight deck with the strike, you know, and the captain being kind of disgruntled and all that. There's no, from that video, and I haven't read the CVR. I don't know if it's public yet or at all. I don't know if there was any more discussion on that flight happening in the cockpit, but it's hard to say or not, you know, with 100% certainty that the captain wanted to take the full procedure because he was being a little bit spiteful, or he was just being a little extra cautious because he hadn't flown for 6 months. So while I really appreciate how that was brought into the video, and it's a definite part of the discussion of that accident, I could just as easily see a captain wanting to do the full procedure because he hasn't flown in 6 months, right? And then maybe by chance, the first officer assumed or thought that he wasn't going to be flying. He wanted to do that because the last guy he flew with was doing malicious compliance or like being spiteful and not taking the shortcut because they hadn't been paid yet. So I could see it either way, and I'm not going to tread on anyone's grave here and saying it was 100% this or not. But there was definitely some bearing on that cockpit environment. The fact that they didn't have JIPWhiz that's also insane to me. I mean, you think about the advancements in aviation safety that we have now. I mean, air travel is so safe now, and the reason it is safe is because of the true pioneers in aviation, you know, late 80s, 70s, 80s, 60s, 70s, 80s, even earlier than that, honestly, all the way back to the inception. I think, you know, you start getting into the 90s, mid 90s and up, you really started to see the uptick in safety and different protocols coming online to keep air travel safe. But man, that is a gut punch. I mean, they didn't even hit terrain, they hit a tower. That wasn't even on the chart. Now, if it was depicted on their approach chart, would they have seen it? My initial instinct is, I don't know, man. I don't think so. I think they already had the confirmation bias that they needed, and I don't think anyone was cross-referencing a chart for highest obstacles in the area. Now, it's interesting that it wasn't on the chart. I'm sure they threw it on the chart after that, but that's where you get that little black arrow on the jet page is showing you the highest terrain on that specific approach blade. Would that have saved him or not? I don't think. Personally, I don't think so. It would have happened so fast, like Gustavo said, they probably didn't even see it. I don't know if they saw it or not. I mean, you'd have to read the CVR if there was any reaction. If there was no reaction from the crew, then they obviously didn't see it. If it ripped the wing off, it obviously went through past the captain's side. If it hit the left wing, right, ripped the left wing off. So that image of the tower coming out of the clouds was... I kind of made the hair stand up on the back of my neck. Because if you're a member of the channel, you remember, or maybe you haven't, or maybe you did, I did a podcast where I got placed into a situation that I'm not proud of. And my first officer at that time, flying freight, even though we did not get along at all. I mean, there's a very good chance I'm still here today streaming because of that first officer that I had. That was in a Beech 99. Very similar scenario. Tower, cell tower, guide wires coming off of it. That was in one of my podcasts in the very beginning, the sucker hole story. Correct, Marlano. So when I saw that image on the hair, I mean, still, I got goosebumps when I saw that, because that looked very similar to what I saw out my cockpit window. And by the grace of God, we evaded those wires. But that's a tough one to watch too. Just the confirmation bias to the maximum. I mean, the airplane is giving alerts to the first officer who is responding to those alerts promptly and on time. He's just one step out of phase with the airplane, and coincidentally, that one step is behind, not in front of. Yikes. Not having JIPWIZ is not insane if it's not apparent to accountants that it's necessary, unfortunately. And having all these deaths and loss of income for the airline, that is what made it mandatory now. Yeah. Oh, I know, Dave. Yeah, it's all about, it's some bean counter somewhere is with, well, we don't need it. Exactly. It's all about the money. Follow the money. If you ever have questions in life about anything, literally about anything, follow the money, and you're going to find your answers. It's unfortunate that that's how it is, but that's how the world turns. So, yeah. Yikes. Yikes. How far are we? I'm going to have to take a quick lab break, and then we got to start talking about our own situational awareness going into Ponce, because we got all kinds of stuff to talk about flying in here. I'll pull out my real-world stuff as well for Ponce. And I'll show you some reference docs. Runway 12 reference. I don't really need to pin it, I don't think. But we got ourselves a little bit of terrain here that we're going to deal with. We're going to come in from the right. A little mini Kai-Tech situation. If done right, we will be just about below the mountain off our left-hand side here. We will be below the terrain as we turn final. So I'm going to give y'all control. I'm going to turn the sim down. Let's get one or two tunes running. And matter of fact, let's enjoy some outside juice. I don't know which way we want to do it. How do we want to position the airplane? A little reflection right there. That looks good. Man, it just makes me sick when I never saw that video. Never seen that one before. Well, that just leaves another one that we will watch eventually. All right, what do we got here for the tunes today? We'll lighten the mood a little bit. All right. I'm going to take a quick lab break. I'm going to stretch the legs. And we'll come back. We'll start briefing up for the approach because we're there. We're just about 300 miles out, 250 miles. We'll start our prep. And it should be good. I will be right back. You have control. Don't touch anything. Give me about 2 or 3 minutes. I'll be right back. All right. Got to reinstall the tactical flip-flops. Ooh, look at that engine view. That's the view right there. Tactical flip-flops have been installed. And we're back. All right. Gosh, those engines are just so juicy. Let's turn the cabin off for a minute. Let's go back to settings. I need the lights. Let's turn the cabin off. Oh yeah, look at that beauty. Good old Mercadita. All right, I hope you guys checked out your SLH Sim designs. Code V1 at checkout. You get a little bundle package. That was very kind of SLH Sim to do that. Shout out Green Dot for the great videos, though. Heck yeah, Gene. Heck yeah, man. What's that handle to? It's time. Leroy Jenkins. That livery makes Spirit look so classy. I know. It's probably why they got rid of it, unfortunately. No. We recently had a near midair happen over Delhi between two departing 320s. Had the ATC not given vectors in time, hundreds will be dead in the air and on the ground. Inversed egg yolk. There's been a lot of close calls lately. A lot of close calls, both with air traffic control and pilots alike, man. A lot of close calls. There's been a couple, with the airports that have intersecting runways, but they're not like parallel or not perpendicular. So, for instance, Vegas, where they're kind of off, they're angled at each other. Having an airplane go around on the 1.9s and then having an airplane landing or taking off on 2.6. Near collision. Miami had almost a near collision recently. There's been a lot of very close calls as of late, definitely. Steelers country, Liz Force. Tyson, what's up, man? You guys getting Russell Wilson or what? Stomach still feels sick after that video. Kadopke, I know, man. That's a rough one. It's a rough one. What did I miss? I had a doctor's appointment. Emmett, we just finished breaking down the Green Dot Aviation video. It was wonderful. Wonderful video. I hadn't seen that one in particular. So there's still another one that we're going to have to watch. We have to go the long haul. But they did, Fubar? They did get Russell Wilson? Woof. All right, how far out are we? We got to get ready to do some work here. 240 miles. All right, we'll let this song finish, and then we'll begin our prep. What a beautiful grayscale livery. I feel like it's carbon fiber. Gotta love it. 319 when, Phoenix. 319 when. Turn the cabin back on for juice view right there. Maximum realism. How to switch back to 122.8, rip 122.7. Oh no, why? Alright, that's going. I'm just closing out some of these old windows here. The song's almost over. When this song ends, we will get to work. I'm pulling out my real-world charts and briefings for Ponce. I ran the numbers. The Broncos play the Steelers at home this year. Broncos will play more Rushmore in one game than the Steelers will the whole season. Ouch. Flight Simmer 101. We're headed to Mercadita, Ponce, just south of Puerto Rico. Hold on. I'm going to pull up my stuff here. Whenever you have 3 data pages, it means there's probably something spicy. All right. That's coming down. We're coming up over here. We're bumping up the sounds. All right. First things first, as we get ready to prep, let me run over some briefings. Captain only landing. Oh, this is captain only? Captain only landing. Check NOTAMs for declared distances. Aero data landing distance calculations account for notes referencing the last XXX is unavailable for landing computations that appear in the 10.9A under additional runway information. I'll have to look at that. Under additional runway information, this is all stuff we can pull up on the iPad, so I'm not going to read that till we pull it up. I'm just going to read you stuff that we won't have access to. Runway 30 tailwinds are common on the final until low to the ground. Low-level wind shear is common. The C in Mercadita is like an S. Merceda? Someone put it in chat like the uneducated American way. FOM landing runway less than 6,000 feet of usable runway procedures must be followed. RNAV GPS runway 12 is not authorized at night, per note 1 on the 12.1 page. Visual approach to runway 12 is not authorized at night. High terrain is prominent to the left of the extended runway centerline, and that it is. Requiring a turn just prior to final approach fix warp. This results in late alignment to the runway. Yes, the first time I did this approach, I was like, wow, that is no joke. Okay. Wind shift, low-level wind shear is common. PAPI is difficult to see and often NOTAM out of service. Oh, great. Contact San Juan Center on 118.75 to terminate the flight plan on the ground. Yes, indeed. I got some phone numbers in here for San Juan, all that good stuff. All right, let's go back to this. Oh, that was only on the one page. Special qual. High terrain, north, northwest, and west. All 321 not authorized at this time due to ops spec. Radio closeout are required. Ops radio range is approximately 50 nautical miles from the airport. Radar service is not provided below 6,000 feet. This is what blew my mind the first time because I hadn't done it in so long, but it was so much fun. Out of 6,000 feet, you are literally VFR in an Airbus. Like, no one to talk to, no one controlling you. It is a VFR Cessna 310 with an A320. I mean, it's pretty wild. No control tower. VFR traffic may not be in radio contact. See and avoid. That gives you the warm and fuzzies, doesn't it? To safeguard IFR separation, do not cancel IFR while airborne. Make position reports on CTAF as needed. Isn't there like some big CTAF drama going on with the old VATSIM? Pilot-controlled lighting, 3 clicks for low. I love how they put it in our book here. Like, they remind us because we're just Airbus pilots, and we're like, how do you turn on the runway lights again, George? I don't know. I think you got to click the radio mic like 5 times or something. Oh, yeah, so they put it here so we can figure it out. 3 clicks for low, 5 for medium, 7 for high, within 5 seconds of each other. Caution, multiple towers and power lines exist in the immediate vicinity of taxiways and runways, especially 30. Avoid restricted area 7105 and unmarked tethered balloon up to 15,000 feet MSL. That is also on the chart. It was pretty wild when I saw that. I was wondering why our terrain looked all glitched out, but it wasn't. It was actually the weather balloon. Ramp uncontrolled, yada yada. Departures, we're not worried about departures because we're not taking off. We might have to do a return leg out of here one day. A lot of departure stuff. Okay, cool stuff. Cool. All right, so that's pretty much the company rundown stuff. Now let's look at our actual chart. So now that you know we're basically flying into the Wild West here of the airport, let's first make sure the box is set up appropriately, and then we'll look at some more chart stuff. So let's get the latest weather. I don't know if we'll be able to pull it, will we? Let's see, TJPS, weather request from here, just the METAR. We'll send that off. We'll wait for that to come back. Our flight plan, we are coming off of Moz, which is a VOR, I believe. Yes, there is Moz. Excellent. Remember, we requested with San Juan Center direct to Moz to help with our descent planning. So we'll leave that in there for right now with the disco. All the way down, that looks good. RadNav page, all hard tune. The Moz VOR on my side. That's going up. Progress, TJPS, perf. Data, let's look at our descent. Let's not do 340, let's do 320 K knots. That looks good. Approach phase, let's see here. Receive messages. Mayaguez VOR. Watching on a minute in meeting, Aero in Laces. Murcia. We'll give up your gringo. All right, here we go. Ponce, 160 at 10. Beautiful, pushing us right into the mountain. I love it. 160 at 10 knots. Temperature is 30. QNH 29er, 9 or 8. Remark, wind information, peak wind information not available. All right, now let's look at our charts. Pulling out the EFB Navigraph approach chart. There is no star, so we're going to star runway 12. All right, zoom in here. Climbing right turn 3000, direct set bow and hold. LNAV minimums only, so it's LNAV, so we're going to add 50 feet, right? An MDA must do addition. 880 plus 50 is going to be 930. So let's set 930 in the barrel ref. This is just going to be a reference altitude for the RNAV. That is set up. And San Juan Center, Spearwings 357. Go ahead, Spearwings 357. Yeah, go ahead and proceed direct on Mike West, Mike Alpha Zulu. Direct to Mike Alpha Zulu, Spearwings 357. All right, we're going to go direct to Mike Alpha Zulu. That's the VOR. Boom, direct to. That'll straighten us out just a tad. The MU is sounded like Moo with the marked R from Gringo. Murcia. Mayaguez VOR. Question on idle reverse. Is the Fenix correct in that it increases the N1 slightly? Yes, because all reverse thrust is forward thrust directed backwards, or really forward. So as you go into reverse, you need to add power to the engine. Thus, your N1 will increase. As you increase the thrust, that thrust is now being directed forward because the doors have slid back. Hello, sir. Are your Airbus Side 6 available? If so, do you deliver in Europe? They are not mine, NY Kita, but check them out on Flight Sim Projects or exclamation point stick. They're actually sold and made in Italy, if I'm not mistaken. The Flight Sim Projects team. So I'm 100% sure they deliver to Europe. So yeah, check them out, flightsimprojects.com. That is the stick that I'm using. I'm using a Thrustmaster Warthog base. Mercedita. Is that where we're going? Mercedita. All right. Procedure not authorized at night. We all know that. Obtained local altimeter setting on CTAF. If not received, use the Luis Munoz Marin International, it's Puerto Rico, altimeter setting, and that changes things. So, with the local altimeter setting, you can set an 880 MDA. If you do not have the local altimeter setting, you do not have applicable minimums. So, you'd have to put in whatever your minimum VFR altitude window is. Now, or you just can't shoot this approach, really, if you don't have the local altimeter setting. How do you get the local altimeter setting, you may ask, if there is no control tower? Well, in real life, there's somebody manning the operations control frequency on the 1227 Unicom. I'm going to try 1227. I thought one guy said he was going to be doing Unicom. Ponce Unicom, Spearwings 357. I don't think we're not in range yet. We got to be within about 50 miles. We're still 100 miles out. Yeah, that's all right. You would get the altimeter setting from the ops agent down there on the ground in Ponce. Let's take a look at the ground charts, the 10-9 here, and we're going to start trickling down too. Nothing crazy. Runway 12. What it doesn't tell you is there's a huge displaced threshold on both ends. 10-9A page. This is where you really gotta start paying attention to stuff that you normally. How many times do we look at a 10-9A page here on the channel? Let's see. Preset medium intensity dark. Landing distance available 5,488 feet. If you cross the threshold. Landing distance available 6,757 feet on 30. Okay, we're landing 12, threshold 6122. So you're less than 6,000 feet landing distance coming across the threshold. So it is a shorter runway. According to our op procedures, if we're going to land on a runway with less than 6,000 feet, we're required to go medium auto brakes, full reverse, and flaps full. So that is set. Our outer tank fuel transferred. Verify they both opened up. Yes, they have. Excellent. Let's go ahead and start trickling down. Let's descend and maintain flight level 19 or 0. We'll start our descent early. Mach des. Well, we're not that early. Mach descent, we're coming on down. Engines are coming back. Runway 12, obstacle departures. Basically, if we have to go around, we're going to make a climbing right turn out over the water. Visual climb over airport. All runways obtain ATC approval. Visual climb over airport when requesting IFR clearance. That's for takeoff. We're not worried about that. This is some information about the obstacles. There is no arrivals going in here, right? I don't believe we're not even on an arrival. Uh-oh. Where'd my charts go? There we go. Let's go back to our approach plate. Alright, so we're going to use the RNAV 12 as a backup. I'm going to tell y'all for runway 12, we have to make a turn prior to RORP. Alright? We're going to be coming in kind of at an angle from here. Oh, that was bad. Let's erase that. Really, we're going to be kind of coming like this, and we got to make this turn with a late alignment to runway 12. We want to be roughly at 500 feet right here as we make this turn in front of the mountain. And you'll be able to see that right here as we turn this terrain, and there's actually in real life there's some wires on this terrain, like some telephone wires that get awfully close to the airplane. I said specifically to my FO, I was like, hey man, those wires are pretty close, aren't they? He's like, yep, they sure are. But it's just how you do the approach. So we're going to come in here, we'll make the turn, we're going to turn everything off, we'll be flight path vector, right turn for runway 12. Huge displaced threshold. If you look at the displaced threshold here on the overview, it doesn't really have a good picture of the runway. I was hoping we had a picture of the runway. Maybe 3-0. It's kind of hard to tell. This is coming from the other direction. But there is a very large displaced threshold here, so it gives you an illusion that you're going to be, that you're coming in like really low. So we'll probably bring it in a little bit low, not, nothing to be crazy about, but if we cross the numbers at 30, 40 feet, that's probably right in the ballpark. I mean, you're totally fine crossing the numbers at 50 feet. But one thing that I will break down for you as well on the 10.9 page. So if you do not make taxiway echo, which I made, if you don't make taxiway echo, you got to do Fox and Golf were nodemed out. Now, for real life, our sim purposes, we can just make the turn here. But the first time I flew down here, Foxtrot and Golf were nodemed out. You could not turn on these taxiways. So if you didn't make echo, you had to do a 180 turn on the runway. And it's not the widest of runways. It's not the narrowest of runways either. It's pretty, I think it's actually standard, isn't it? But how to do a 180 turn on the runway if you don't make echo. The first time I made echo just fine. The second time we were much heavier. We rolled it all the way out and came back around. One time I took a really, really light 319 into here, and it was like echo was no problem. But that's just something you gotta check the NOTAMs for. Keep in mind. Matter of fact, I could check the NOTAMs, see if it's out of service or not right now in real life, and then maybe we'll pretend. But yeah, that's kind of your pseudo brief. TJPS 12. We'll do dry surface. Apply the METAR. Our current landing weight as we are descending down, 138.4, 5'4", 600 pounds. We'll just call it 138 even, 138.0. We're going medium brakes, max reverse, flap full. So you can see here 3,800 feet. Now this is deceiving. Landing distance available. That's not correct because we have a displaced threshold. We only have about 6,700 feet. So real life would be a little bit different. Our factored 1.15, 4,400 feet. We still have plenty of room. We'll do a manual landing. There's our landing performance data. All right. That's good. Italy, Bondorno. Water's in the house. What's up, man? You got to see one day a C-17 land at RNAV 12. I did know C-17s come in here. I've seen pictures of them. Yeah. Abadillo, are you on Unicom? Let's see, how far out are we from Ponce? Right now we are 67 miles out. Ponce, Unicom, Spear Wings 357. Max man, did I select max man? Medium, there we go. Thank you. Thank you, Canadian. There you go. 1.15, 5,600 feet. So really just under 1,000 feet, less than 1,000 feet of factor distance margin, if you will. So landing distance remaining 4,900 feet. That's on the 8,000 foot strip. That's not true, as we determined it was about just under 6,000. So not a whole lot of extra room. You're on 22.8. I was on the actual Unicom. I'll dial in. I'll dial in 1228. Ponce Unicom, Spear Wings 357. All right, SEBPO, we're not going to do the procedure turn. Warp is at 2200. Let's come down here. So a 190. What's the temperature down there? Is the Fenix sensitive with JipWiz or pretty accurate? I never know if warnings are too sensitive. It's pretty realistic. Coder, I think where the errors are is when you have the terrain databases may not be exact the same, what they should be. Oh, I just hit my side stick. Did I disengage? No, everything's good. Temperature is 30. 30 degrees down there. 30. 86 degrees. Ladies and gentlemen, from the flight deck, just got our initial descent down into Ponce. Be on the ground here just about another 15-20 minutes. Weather in Ponce is a beautiful afternoon. Temperature is 86 degrees. That's 30 degrees Celsius. Light winds out of the southeast, about 15 to 20 miles an hour. Partly cloudy skies. Seatbelt sign will be coming on here pretty soon. Once it does, remain on for the duration of the flight. Do ask that you remain seated till the aircraft arrives safely at the gate. On behalf of this Atlanta-based flight crew, I want to be the first one to welcome you into Ponce. Thank you for choosing Spiritual Air Wings. All right. 24/7. Let's go ahead and get this on. Out of 7,000 feet, we will be literally VFR. Thanks, Team Vodka. Did your sim crash, man? I wasn't paying attention. Could you do the PA again? No, but I will get the flight recorder up because I want to see this. And I think I need to readjust Fly Live. Daggone it. All right, flight recorder's coming back up. I want Fly Live to be running because I want it to give us a landing rate. So let's try this one more time. Actually, hold on. I wonder if I... I'll just kill you. Alright. Here she comes. I saw Boris on the latest Air Force Proud video. Really? He's famous now. Alright, so we're going via SEBPO. Speed Alt Star. Let's keep that descent going. Spirit Wings 357, descend and maintain 6,000 feet. You're cleared RNAV runway 12 via Mike Alpha Zulu. Alright, cleared RNAV 12 via Mike Alpha Zulu. No traffic observed between us and the field. Spiritual Wings 357. Thrust idle descent. 7,000 blue right now, just to give me a step down. Out of 7,000 is when you're pretty much VFR. Taog is right after where you live, Willow? Awesome, man. I heard you on 128 a few minutes ago. Whenever you're ready, here we are. Ooh, looks like Unicom is in the house. Out of 17.5, hit the magic barrel WEF. 3000 is set. Seatbelt sign is on. Let's do an approach checklist. Briefing complete. Approach stable by. This one's going to be a little bit different. Stable by about 500 feet on final as we make the turn. But we will be configured prior to 1,050. So we'll be fully configured prior to 1,000 feet, but look to be stable on centerline just under 500 feet as we make that last minute turn to line up with runway 12. All right, ECAM status check. Seatbelts on. Minimums. I got 930 set for a reference. 930 set. Auto brakes are medium. And our approach checklist is complete. Let's give Ponce a call. Ponce, Unicom, Spear Wings 357. I heard FlyLive updated recently. Do you have that? I do not. I thought FlyLive was dead. I thought the guy that started FlyLive basically stopped supporting it. But if that's true, I might have to check it out, Thrustset. I was not aware of that at all. All right, let's go ahead and get our window shades down for landing. Abdilo, I cannot hear you. And I know my Unicom was working because I heard Team Vodka in Orlando. 122.8. Still can't hear Ponce. I'll turn up the sim a little bit more. Is the radio still on the PA system? Nope. We are VHF 1 up and ready. I'll turn the cabin off. Maybe do I need to turn cabin off? But we can listen to, I'll put the PA on in case we hear any descents. All right, we need to start picking up our rate of descent. I'm going to go thrust idle, open descent. I'm going to select speed. I'm going to activate, confirm the approach phase. I'm going to help myself out here with some Chinese speed brakes. We'll get all the lights on. And we also need to slow to 250 K knots. Spiritual Wings 357, you're descending out of my airspace. No traffic observed between you and Ponce. Maintaining VFR. Advise IFR cancellation in the air or on the ground. Contact Unicom 122.7. Over to Unicom 122.7. We'll cancel on the ground. Thanks for the ATC. Spiritual Wings 357. All right, so we are VFR, chat. Right now, you are literally VFR in an Airbus. We'll maintain our current beacon code, which is 2000. At least it should be. Yeah, it's 2000. And this would be on below. And you are seeing and avoiding traffic. There is an unmarked balloon. It's not shown. I think it's on maybe the other chart. On our, I wonder if I ever took a picture of it. It's like this. It shows it on your ND, which is pretty cool. You're like, what is that? 15,000 foot square right in the middle of nowhere. And that was the unmarked weather balloon. All right, there's 250. With thrust idle descent, I'm getting a little bit high, just like I did in real life. So 4,000 feet, we got to go ahead and get on down here. Why does my view feel off-center? Oh no, that's weird. How did I set that view down there? Oh. No, not in the airplane, Nabil. 122.7 is working. Let me try 122.7. Ponce Unicom, Spear Wings 357. I'm not hearing him on 22.7. I'll try 122.8. I'll tell you what, we'll do both frequencies. Maybe it's just a range thing.
Wings 357, Ponce Unicom.
Aha, we got him, we got him. On 122.7. No, I don't want to shadow myself. Oh, yeah. Now, Ponce, Spirit Wings 357, we got you loud and clear. How me? Approaching 1,000 feet.
Spirit Wings 357, Ponce, Unicum, can you hear us, guys?
Yeah, Spirit Wings 357, we're about 15 minutes out, looking for a local altimeter setting and gate arrival, please.
Ponce, Unicum, roger. The winds are 160 at 7, altimeter 2998.
2998, 160 at 7 for Spirit Wings 357. Thank you. Do you have any VFR traffic in the pattern?
There's no traffic at this time.
Copy that, Spirit Wings 357. That's exactly how Ponce Unicom works. That's really cool. That was really cool. Thanks for doing that. So we now have the local altimeter setting, so our min-baro ref that we have set is viable if we were shooting the actual approach, even though we're not really. But we're going to go ahead and arm it up now. We are final blue app nav and 250 on the speed. I'm going to go ahead and reduce here. This is one where I came in a little bit slower than 250 just because we were looking for VFR traffic.
Cabin crew must now be seated for landing.
Oh,
Thank you.
that's because we had our PA on. Go ahead.
The cabin is now secure for landing.
Awesome, thanks. Hey, can you grab two 7-Ups and Jack? Thank you. All right, we're set up for the room party. Here's the turn. This is where it gets awesome. I mean, this is a beautiful approach coming in here. Hand fly the visual. Oh yeah, we're gonna hand fly it all the way, Gustavo. I'm just gonna leave it on autopilot here for a little bit so we can googly eye. Oh yeah, we're staying down by the beach. Denzel Washington, our captain. I have a little tickle in my throat. It's cough medicine. There you go. Steven's got it. This is cool. I love this. All right, set bow. Out above 3,000. We're at 4. We can maintain 4. We're final is blue, so we are looking good. I don't need to arm the spoilers. I'm going to disarm those. Something's breaking up there. But I mean, this view here, like coming along the beach, is just so beautiful, man. So beautiful down there. You guys are going to get an ad, unfortunately. Can I? How do I stop this YouTube thing? I'm going to see. I think I can override that one. I think some I can override because it pops up. It gives me a notification that there's going to be an ad coming. Then I can, if I see it, I can go over there and then click it. I do not have a payware Ponce yet. It is not available. There is one in the making, though. I can't wait. I believe Falcon Aviation or somebody was here saying that they're working on a Ponce scenery. So once it gets released, I will definitely be revisiting Ponce. I loved this approach. Right, here comes our VDEV brick. Look at this. This is as close to flying in, like, Spain as you're going to get along the coast. It's, you know, unless you go down to Europe and fly those really pretty approaches over there, this is about as close as you get. I am on IVEO, Captain Schisler. Yeah, the VATSIM ban is still in place. We are on IVEO. All right, we're at 4,000 feet. If we have to go mist, we're going to set 3,000. So 3,000 is blue on the mist approach. Let's go ahead and continue to slow all the way up here. Let's select 180 knots. A little bit of speed brake. We're VFE next minus 10. Flaps 1. Look at that. Alright, I'm going to start the recording now. Recording is on. We need to slow it up here. As soon as we get inside Rorp, I will start configuring and just hand flying her all the way down. I'm gonna go gear down because I feel like we're getting a little bit behind. Manage speed. Iffy next -10, flaps 2. Full cam's coming on here. Autopilot's coming off. I'm gonna leave the flight director engaged. Flaps 3. A little bit late on the configuration here. Flaps full. Speed brake out, that's me. Speed brake arm. Alright. Runway's in sight. Let's go. Flight director's off. Give me the bird. Bird is on. Auto thrust is on. Down we go. Ponce traffic, Spirit Wings 357. About a 7 mile right base runway 12. Ponce traffic.
Ponce, Unicom, roger. There's no traffic at this time. Winds are 1607, altimeter 2998.
Copy, Spirit Wings 357. Alright, so we're not going to line up with the runway just yet. Keep on trickling down. Let me update my magic barrel ref key. 2997. So that wind is going to blow us right to the terrain. A little bit of bumpy there.
Minimum.
Alright, so we need to make the turn prior to Rorp. We want to be about 500 feet as we come around the corner here into these mountains. This will make for a sweet replay. I'm not gonna mess with changing the views because we have replay. Oh yeah, now let's go ahead and start that turn. Barely see the pappy. I'm still a little bit high. Look at those power lines going on below the nose. They're in real life. That's so cool. All right, just now making out the pappy. We're still a little bit high. One red, correcting. A little high, correcting. A little bit gustier than I thought. All right, there we go. We're getting on the pappies now.
Retard. 5.
Oh, so close. Come on, baby. Manual brakes. $70 knots. Yeehaw.
Spirit Wings 357, welcome to Ponce. You can taxi via Alpha to the Ram, gate number 1.
Alpha to the Ram, gate number 1, Spirit Wings 357. Thank you. Whew. Definitely a little bit more gusty than I anticipated there. See the windsock starting to bounce around. Echo's not happening today. No way, Aaron. No way. All right, we'll go ahead and clear. And then we'll clean it up. That'll make for a sweet replay. I thought I overflared it a tad. I feel like I should have added, well, we've got replay. We're going to try that again, too. I'm going to stop it. I'm going to save it right now. That's PSC landing. I feel like if I would have done that same landing with maybe 5 more knots on my V app, it would have been much better. I got a little, as soon as I brought that power out, we just got a little squirrely. Still felt pretty good though. So let's go ahead and we're cleaning it up. Disarm, that's good. But I mean, how sweet is that little approach? Wait till you see the replay of that terrain. Until you see, it looks like, okay, that's cool in the sim. When you see the replay, the airplane is below this mountain as you're turning final. I mean, it's kind of a no joke situation. But that was awesome. I loved it. 240 on the landing rate. Meh. It's aight. We'll see. I feel like we ballooned. I feel like I just missed it. We're not going to shut down. Or should we shut down? Yeah, what the hell? We'll shut down. We'll do the full experience. Let's get the APU primed up. All right, so gate number 1, I believe, yeah, it's over here. So let's get the APU fired up. Let's go ahead and we'll just turn off the other lights too. While we're These taxiways are really narrow in real life. Really narrow. Got to be on it. Nabil, I'm not sure if I am or not. It's been so long, man. I think I am. Alright, there's a helicopter there, so we're gonna slide in. What gate is that? I'm gonna see if GSX will line up for me. Hold on, let's stop here. Let's stop here real quick. Let's see if I can get GSX to give us a gate. See if we can do a good parking job. 2 suitable parkings. Gate 1. No follow me. So, oh yeah, so gate 1. There we go. Boom. All right, here we go. Brakes released. Let's see if we can do a decent parking job here. I have a feeling you don't want me on the line. Why do you want me to go this far left? No, I'm not going to listen to you. You don't know what you're talking about, man. Oh, so close. Brakes are set. Engine 2. Seatbelt sign. Engine 1. A bit to the right and askew. Look at that helo there. That's good. Yeah, I'm a bit to the right because you told me to go right. I should have just listened to myself. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ponce. That was sweet. We'll go ahead and start the deboarding process. I think this is our Unicom bird over here. That's really cool. Yeah, I can't wait for an actual Ponce scenery. Oh, look at that. I gotta take a screenshot of that. If only we were in a 319. Blame their supervisor. I do appreciate the Unicom, man. It made it a lot of fun, dude. It made it a lot of fun. FS Dream Team's on a jetway? Yeah, no, yeah. So in real life, this building is much smaller, and the jetways go from the ground up. So they're really slanted. It looks kind of awkward. But, all right. Let's get into the replay. That's going to be a lot of fun. Look at the rudders already displaced all the way to the right because the wind's blowing that direction. That's really cool. I'm drawing a blank. How do you do a screenshot? Left shift space? I forget how to take screenshots. Wow. All right, we're not going to watch the whole deboarding process. EGTs are coming down nicely, though. Look at that. Yeah, already 280. 282. They're coming down quick. which is much more realistic. So I'll be curious to see what they were in 30 minutes. I almost want to just do a turnaround. Is that bad? Alt F1? No, it wasn't Alt F1. I forget what command I used to use for screenshot. It'll come back to me. Left Windows print screen. I think that's what it was. Windows Shift S? No. It was 2 keys. I think it was Windows print screen. Alright. Deboarding. Dismiss. I don't want to actually deboard, so we're going to restart Kutao. And we could sit here. I wish we were doing a turnaround. We'll restart Kutao. We will put the airplane in panel states ready mode. Activate. We will get rid of the jetway. We'll get our engine masters on. Flap lever position 2 to get us started. Replay cam coming up. Windows Alt print screen. No, don't use that. Windows print cam. Nope. F12. Nope. There's always 2 commands. I think it was... Yeah, it was Windows print screen. That's what I use. Windows print screen. That's what I normally always use. Now I got some weird little bar at the top left of my screen. Do you see that? What is that? I've never seen that bar before. What did you guys put on my screen? Kutao, the T is after the L. Really?
You need to start the engines to request
Kutao. It will always be Kutao. Close up those doors. What's wrong with the volume? Oh, that's volume? My Veo disconnect. I will disconnect from my Veo. Alt F4 maybe? Let me try that, Water. Let me try Alt F4. Alright, we're all up and running. Lights are coming on. Alright. We should be good. Commence the replay. I really want, I'm gonna want to leave one full one at the end.
Speed, speed, speed.
I'm definitely gonna save this replay for a while. Let's see how we did here. Kutao is named after Dungeons and Dragons, I believe. GSX is a dev fan. So it's Kuwaddle. Kutao. Kutao it is. Everybody say Kutao, so Aaron gets mad. Alright, we are in turn. Watch the terrain from this window here. You're just flying in, you're like, oh wow, we are pretty close to the mountains there. Look at the flaps shaking. Is that not max juice or what? Look at that. Yeah, it was a lot. There was more Microsoft gust happening than I was anticipating. But it is pretty turbulent down there. I mean, each time that I've flown down there, like even when there's not a lot of wind, it's just shifty and swirly and warm. Get that lifting. Look at that wing flexing. See, I almost had it perfect, and then we floated a tad, I think. I don't know. My initial instincts, I don't think that was too heavy. We'll have to look at it again. But I mean, shoot, we are ripping down the runway. Let's wind it back. We'll save the outside view here for last. Let's see. Wing flex. Gonna stow the speed brakes. Go down. Oh, we should turn the parking brake off. That would help. comes the Florence kit. There it is. See the reverser sound? Way better. All right, let's see what it looked like from outside.
Too low. Terrain.
The C5 was scraping the mountain. Yeah, I feel like we were a little too wide. I think we were a little left of course before I disengaged the autopilot to begin with, but we're still all right. I should have been a little bit more of an angle if I was on course. Get her lined up. Get those IAEs in there just ripping. So as we get, yeah, you can see a little bit of a crab. Not much, just bumpy. Just a bumpy ride down. It was anything but smooth. Bring it back. Straighten it out. Ooh. I mean, I don't know if that was 240. I was able to track the center line pretty good there. So I think I'm liking that SDS off. I think I like SDS off. Oh wow, that's a perfect screenshot. Hold on. Another perfect screenshot. Just missed the paint. But I think when I made Echo, I was down on pretty much the numbers. Might try another shot out of here. We'll turn drone follow off. Oh, dang it. I'll rewind it. I was a little bit too close. Let's try it again. Let's try it at half speed. $319 win. Straighten it out. Nice D-crab. I feel like it's more floaty. I don't know if that was a 240. Everything looks smooth in half speed. Let's do normal. Either way, I like it. I just maybe I don't know. Maybe it was too floaty, maybe not. I'll do one more attempt here. Hold on. Oh, that was juice. There was a little bit of a lag right after touchdown, I guess. I wonder if that's my dynamic LOD coming into play. I'm going to pause. Let's go back to the camera. Let's come back in here. Let's wind it back.
Too low. Terrain.
Just for funsies, I'm going to try it again. Resume replay. Stop replay. So I'm flying. All right, I'm flying. I have control. I have the thrust levers. Let's get those out of reverse. Power, 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 power. Give me the bird. All right, so I'm flying. I'm not going to record it because I'm going to do one long one of that last replay. A little bit high, correcting. I just want to see this landing mode again. Ooh, watch there you go. I'm doing a little C5 tower scraping right there. See, we're still one white. Now we're four white. Mulligan mode. I just want to, for testing purposes here, we're just testing the ground effect. And then I'll put one long replay in there for y'all to watch with some music. All right. I want to see if I can put it on the paint. So we're going to come in a little bit low. I want it on the paint.
$30, $20, retard, 5,
Ooh, we bounced? I feel like they changed it. I feel like they changed it. Come on, they changed the landing mode again. They make it easy mode. They made it easy mode. Like, hold on, watch this. I'm gonna do it again. Resume replay. Stop replay. I have control. Hold on. Hold on. I feel like it's way more forgiving. Like before, you flared. If you were late before, you were toast. I'm going to try a late flare. Because remember, before this update, if you've had a late flare, you were smashing. So I'm going to intentionally try a late flare. Let's see. For science. A little bit slow, too, correcting. I think we're also way lighter, though. You know what? It may think we're empty. What is our weight? Yeah, it says we're like 100 pounds. 100,000 pounds. Okay, well that was I wasn't paying attention.
50.
Let me just see.
30.
Late flare.
Retard.
You could just save it nice and easy. And
5.
just kiss her down. I don't know. One more. One more for real practice. Resume replay. Stop replay. I have control. Alright, last one for real. This one I'm actually we'll try to do it on, like, be on it this time. Let's get the speed up. But, like, I'm so light, I think it's also messing with the airplane a little bit. Easier landing, a nod to console players with a pad. It's definitely easier to save. I think we were all in agreement that on the previous update, if you had a late flare, you were smashing. At least that's how it felt to me. And I was okay with it. I mean, not that I'm not okay with this version, I just feel like this has been something, I don't know, it's just, I'm getting these crazy balloons right here. It might also be because we're in replay mode, it's like kind of whacked out. Hold on, let's get down, come on, down. We're super light, like we're empty. It's been nerfed. I don't know if it's been nerfed. I don't want to start spreading rumors. I don't think it's been nerfed. I still think it flies good. Let me try an actual landing here.
50.
Bring it back, straighten her out.
30.
Let her come down.
20. Retard.
Hold the flare.
5.
Just kiss it on. Oh, baby. I mean, it still flies really good. It's definitely easier than before. I will say that. It's 100% easier. That one, I wish I recorded that one. That one felt pretty dang good. All right, I'm going to stop it. Try again with heavier. Nah. I'm going to give you a replay. Phoenix fixed the N1 on IAEs. No more Amber X's. Yes, they did fix it. Is that more realistic? I don't know. I don't know what they actually changed, so I can't really sit here and say, oh yeah, they changed this and this is how it feels now. All I will say that I can definitively say is you can save a bad landing technique now. That's what it feels like to me. Is in the previous version, if you had a bad landing technique, like a bad late flare, you were going to impact unless you really saved it. This feels like you have much more control throughout the flare, which is not necessarily a bad thing. So that's where I'm going to leave it. I don't really think it's better or worse. I just think they fixed the problem of having a bad flaring technique. Does it feel good? You're the real pilot. It feels good, but here's the thing. We're practicing landings. I think it was like 100,000 pounds. It feels a lot lighter on the controls. I don't know. It feels. What do you guys think? I don't know. I'm just fly the thing. I don't know. I don't know. I want to do it again. Hold on. I want to do it again. I need another landing. Resume. I need another landing. Stop replay. Oh, okay, we're getting it in here. Now, what would be interesting? Oh, I can't do it while in the ground. Yeah, see, we're empty. Hold on. Don't stall. Just give me some weight.
Speed.
Apply load. Instant. Now we're...
Speed.
Okay, we're slow. Oh, stalling. Correcting. Oh, brothers. Cancel go around. Don't do that in real life ever. Okay, now we have a little bit more weight to it. Let's try it. We're going to get back on profile here. A little bit more weight. Here we go. Let's try it again. I don't think it feels bad. I'm not sitting here saying it feels bad. I really don't think it feels bad at all. Now we're much heavier. We're 140,000 pounds. Powered idle, straighten her out, round it out. Oh, it's so easy now. Oh, look at that float. Yeah, it didn't used to do that. I'm going to be unpopular. I think I liked it before. Hopefully no one from Phoenix is watching this. It's like, well, you said before that you need to change it. Now we changed it. Now you don't like it. I think it's good either way, guys. It's fine. It's about as close as we're going to get to the real airplane, I think. It's definitely easier. Definitely easier for a bad landing technique. You can definitely save a bad landing now. SDS is on. No, SDS is on. I like SDS. I've confirmed SDS on feels fantastic. I love SDS on. The airplane flies very good. In flight with SDS on, I mean, it is just like the real thing, guys. It's great. I like it. I really don't have anything negative to say. If I could be 100% transparent, whatever adjustment they made from the last version till now, I think if you half it, it'd be perfect. So I don't know what they adjusted, but if you halved that adjustment, I think it would be perfect. In my unpopular opinion, and I'm just one sole source that really knows nothing. So. But either way, it's really good. I love the Fenix Block 2. It's so much fun to fly this airplane. I mean, the hand flying with SDS on and the 20 curve, like that's recommended. Guys, that's what the Airbus feels like when you're flying it. It feels really, really good. So I enjoy it. I don't know we're already this part of sail. I'm gonna run it. I'm gonna head out of here. I'm gonna head home. I would like to stream tomorrow. I got one more day off, and then I got a long day on Wednesday of real world flying. So maybe I'll get freshened up with my flare techniques. I'm not sure what we're going to fly or where we're going to fly tomorrow. Stay tuned. Make sure your notifications are on so I can put something in the YouTubes, and you'll be able to join me tomorrow. So until then, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me. Appreciate you. Thank you for all these subscriptions, the likes, donos. Until the next one, stay safe and stay healthy. I'm V1. See ya.